Senior monk Extreme Happiness saw Su Xing was contemplative and thought that Su Xing was considering the matter of offending him earlier. He could not help but become somewhat complacent. Benefactor has now changed his ideas. The Happiness Together courtyard welcomes you at any time. Oh, I shall consider it. Su Xing shrugged his shoulders. The surrounding monks were immediately startled, staring somewhat incredulously at Su Xing. This man surprisingly declined the compassion of one of Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestors. Although the Happiness Together courtyard did not necessarily have a good reputation in the Buddha Kingdom, they possessed one of the 6 ancestors. Any of the sects would have shown some face, but seeing Su Xing's cultivation was galaxy late stage with 3 stunning beauties on his left and right, his personality proud, even a dumb person could guess what Su Xing's status was. The eyes of the monks were endlessly complex, each bursting with Buddhist verse as if to calm the extreme anger in their hearts, viewing Su Xing as incessantly laughable. Senior monk looked at Su Xing with eyes full of hatred. He did not say anything, his expression still polite and amiable. Senior monk Extreme Happiness, who is that benefactor that brought beauties with him? To unexpectedly make the senior monk Extreme Happiness so extremely unhappy. A coarse voice burst into raucous laughter that rang in the ears, somewhat inharmonious with those quiet Buddhists. Senior monk Extreme Happiness' stern and grave face immediately was like the first melt of winter snow upon hearing this voice, warmly smiling. Buddha Aratha, senior monk lets you see a smile. The man who walked directly over was of a stocky build, his kasaya open at the chest, a style of dress that departed from convention, but he emitted a boldness from head to toe. That boldness seemed to be able to rush into the skies and shake the 4 seas. Su Xing looked with seeing clearly and was secretly shocked. His cultivation was supervoid middle stage. Although his cultivation was higher than senior monk Extreme Happiness by just a realm, his air of dominance nevertheless was considerably greater, as if he stood atop the heavens and tread over the earth. This Buddha was imposing, his diction carrying a slight pressure. He is of the Dharma sect, a chief of the Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestors. Wu Xinjie surreptitiously said. Su Xing grunted, taking guard. The Dharma sect was one of Buddha Kingdom's alternative sects of Buddhism. They did not stick to convention, cultivation a sort of wild and unconstrained sort of Dharma. Furthermore, they were extremely domineering. This dominance was very famous in the Azure Dragon territory. The Dharma sect had a very chilling saying, I am Buddha, and Buddha is me. The sect's style thus was visible. The happiness Chan cultivated by the Happiness Together courtyard had always been gentle and reserved, and add on that senior monk Extreme Happiness beauty that reached the point of being disgusting, Su Xing naturally did not feel this supervoid early stage had any intimidation. On the other hand, this Buddha Aratha of the Dharma sect was fierce beyond normal. Immersed in Vajra Dharma characteristics for several dozen years, his imposing aura naturally could not be compared. Su Xing activated the absolute sincerity soul technique, secretly alleviating this pressure. Buddha Aratha's eyes showed surprise, and his smile was increasingly ruminating. This man is somewhat capable. It seems he is not merely a pretty boy. How about it, do you have interest in entering my Dharma sect? Aratha walked over, speaking right in his face. A true Buddha has always only made people yearn for that, with no need to be like ancestral master. Su Xing calmly replied. The others gaped and were tongue-tied. That Aratha laughed heartily, disagreeing, this ancestor has even been declined? This man's ken is certainly high, however, what you said was not bad. The other monks were saying Ba. The previous incident of the Happiness Together courtyard was merely so, but Su Xing thought this man was formidable. His appearance was rough, yet beneath the surface, he was more exquisite than an embroidery needle. The man obviously knew that Su Xing would refuse, yet he still stepped forward to ask. It seemed he deliberately gave this Happiness Together courtyard a helping hand. What was the relationship between these two? Seeing the Happiness Together courtyard's senior monk Extreme Happiness have a gentle face. The manliness of the Dharma sect's Aratha was bold and powerful, simply distinct. Su Xing harbored the sinister thought that these two were a top and bottom, two combination. Azure Dragon territory cultivators love to speak so pleasantly. He tries vainly to obtain a piece of the holy monk's dharma. Truly laughable. A disciple of the Happiness Together courtyard could not help but mock him. Could it be that there are better and lesser dharma? Su Xing asked back. That Happiness Together courtyard disciple was stunned. His mouth hung open, unsure of how to respond. Wu Xinjie stifled a smile. Her young lord was but one who dared to spit at a statue of Buddha. Do not be rude. Senior Monk Extreme Happiness chided, putting his hands together in apology. Benefactor Su Xing. Suddenly at this moment, they heard a shout. Benefactor Su Xing, old monk truly has had difficulty searching for you. A doddering old man somewhat happily walked over. Chan Master Leaf? Su Xing seemed to remember this name. Old monk Withered Leaf. Chan Master Withered Leaf laughed. Su Xing suddenly had a very ill feeling of foreboding. So it is Chan Master Withered Leaf of the Shala Celestial. What now, you recognize this benefactor? Could he be a disciple that the great master has taught? No wonder he is this way. Aretha laughed aloud. The others were very gratified to think of this. Ashamed, ashamed. Old monk received benefactor's instruction. Old monk is so ashamed of his own inferiority. Chan Master Withered Leaf promptly said. Each and every one of the monks were dumb as wooden chickens. Chan Master Withered Leaf must be joking. Senior Monk Extreme Happiness sneered. Benefactor certainly has comprehended the true essence of Buddha's truth body. This was personally witnessed by millions of the Shala Celestial's disciples. Old monk is ashamed. Hey, this benefactor is not the same one who spat at an image of Buddha, is he? Aretha was stunned. Chan Master Withered Leaf nodded. 3. Fuck. Su Xing very much wanted to kick this old monk into the river Ganges. It was not clear whether this Chan Master Withered Leaf intentionally wanted Su Xing's lecture or if he sincerely respected Su Xing's act of spitting, or perhaps he had some other objective, but to say this undoubtedly pushed Su Xing straight into the spotlight. This had to be a joke. Let alone that what Su Xing said at that time was clear and logical without a gap. Regardless of what he said, he did spit at a statue of Buddha. Those monks of higher realms were enough. Seeing the surroundings were some monks too stupefied to cultivate, certainly, they took Su Xing to be the man who blasphemed against Buddha. So it turned out to be you, benefactor? Admirable, admirable. Poor monk actually cannot compare. Aretha laughed wildly and Senior Monk Extreme Happiness smiled insincerely. Su Xing could not shrink back. The gentleman is satisfied and composed, and his blunder had actually made him appear somewhat impractical. Su Xing's name very quickly sounded throughout the 7-floor stupa pagoda. However, the holy monk was beginning at this time. Everyone actually was very calm, only discussing several sentences. Su Xing did not have any interest tangling with them over words. Understanding the circumstances of their sects, he no longer cared that much. Not long after, the Buddhist aura of the 7-floor stupa pagoda flashed across several tens of thousands of zhang. A dignified Buddhist light sprinkled down, and everyone ceased their noise and conversations. From the 6 ancestors up top to the common folk at the bottom, each and every person showed stances of worship. Multicolored lotus flowers bubbled forth in space, their strange scent lingering, covering the entire aerial range of several hundred li. The multicolored lotus flowers glowed, and between them, a picturesque sight appeared, with heavenly goddesses scattering flowers, with the bliss of colored glass. The heavenly phoenix flew, the green one immortal bird spread its wings, the virtuous gold dragon in the ground rolled, and the auspicious purple clouds were misty. 5. The tall mountains of spirit, the old pines gnarled like horns, above was a red-crowned crane clutching a lingji mushroom in its beak. Amidst the thunder, Sarira was suspended high, shining gloriously. A golden body clapped its hands together, chanting loudly, the voice resounding. The chants of others disappeared, and they gasped in amazement. Even the Azure Dragon territory cultivators could not help but want to prostrate themselves in worship, with even some of the cultivators converting to Buddhism this moment on. Of course, this was a story for later. The sutra rose, resounding through the world. All of the 7-floor stupa pagoda opened. The inside also similarly emitted a blissful feeling, as if there was endless enticement, yet also crammed full of every sort of demon and monster. Su Xing knew that the holy monk's selection for a disciple to inherit his robe and bowl had truly begun. Young master, young lord, careful. Lin Yingmei and Wu Xingjie warned, full of gentleness. You girls, too. It seems that senior monk Extreme Happiness harbors evil intentions. Block them. Su Xing said. We know. Su Xing glanced at Wu Xiao, and the latter nodded. Glancing at senior monk Extreme Happiness' sneering gaze and at the jealousy of others somewhat taking joy in his misfortune, Su Xing coldly smiled. He then walked with Wu Xiao through the gate. Enveloped in the Buddhist light, Su Xing immediately felt the meditative mind lotus seed begin to stir, already with the signs of blossoming. This 7-floor stupa pagoda was worthy of being called Buddhism's holy place, but entering inside had this sort of efficacy. Su Xing opened his eyes. It was not like he had imagined. What appeared before him was an extremely normal place, like an ordinary temple. He could not tell any differences. The scent of burning incense lingered and frescoes hung. In no more than a moment, the room already had more than several hundred monks and cultivators. In the room sat a novice monk only striking his wooden fish. 6. He had not shed his childishness. However, to be able to cultivate in the 7-floor stupa pagoda, how could they underestimate him? Pardon me, what is this place? An Azure Dragon territory cultivator in black clothes asked. This is the 7-floor stupa pagoda's first layer. Buddha West approaches is on the 7-floor stupa pagoda's highest level. Whosoever has the Buddhist mind can ascend the levels. The novice monk said as he struck the wooden fish, his voice neither fast nor slow. Buddha says, the one able to ascend the 7-floor stupa pagoda is a person with connection, able to hear the holy monk's dharma, receive his robe and bowl. This simple. The novice monk said nothing more, only earnestly striking the wooden fish. Hearing these words, everyone immediately erupted into fired-up cheers. A group of monks immediately rushed for the level above. Very quickly, several hundred people had left. The majority of people wanted to be the quickest to ascend, however, there were still several dozen people who did not move at all. These were all people of high comprehension of meditative methods. It seemed they had apparently obtained the Tao, but some were strange. They meditated in place, reading sutras. Su Xing felt this scene was very odd. Lord husband, we also ought quickly go. Wu Xiao quietly said. Don't go for now. Su Xing pulled Wu Xiao's hand. Let's sit quietly first then see. Since this is the 7-floor stupa pagoda, it certainly won't be this simple. Su Xing used sound transmission, it seems some monks in this place have not moved. Perhaps they know something, so we'll first watch. Wu Xiao looked. Indeed, this was somewhat strange, and thinking for a moment, she then sat cross-legged with Su Xing in meditation. That novice monk for the first time opened his eyes. Surreptitiously, he glanced at Su Xing, pragmatically silent. The sound of the wooden fish had a rhythmic striking. The room seemed to be crammed full of dharma, endlessly lingering in his ear. Su Xing did not conflict with this chanting, but he meticulously listened to these Buddhist minds, reforming the meditative mind. 1 minute. 1 day. A month or a year. As if an endless century had passed, finally, there were several monks that were unable to hold back stopping their chanting, walking towards the upper level. Su Xing was immersed in his daydreams, completely forgetting time. The star maidens in the star nest could not help but yawn and fall asleep. Lord husband, suddenly, he heard a soft voice calling him. Su Xing slowly opened his eyes, spotting Wu Xiao's almost within reach. Wu Xiao breathed a sigh of relief. Lord husband, we ought to leave. Oh. Su Xing looked, and then he noticed that the other monks had already stopped chanting. In addition, the room was left with only 20 or so people, a very considerable decrease from the previous several hundred. Those monks all looked strangely at Su Xing, their gazes neither sorrowful nor joyful. Compared to the younger monks Su Xing knew from before, they seemed unable to be compared. Su Xing returned their politeness. Everyone has waited a long while. Please follow me. The novice monk ceased striking the wooden fish and put his hands together. Everyone likewise returned his gesture. Su Xing still did not understand what had happened. Only after Wu Xiao explained did he realize that his guess was correct, as expected. The first checkpoint appeared to be going upstairs at will, but in fact, this tested the Buddha nature and patience of everyone. The novice monk striking the wooden fish was also immersed in Dharma. Before the Dharma ended, how could they leave as they wished? The others were enticed by the 7-floor stupa pagoda, how could they care for this detail, thus they ascended. Although some monks sort of comprehended this, in the end, they were unable to remain calm and also ascended. However, the exit that awaited them was merely the outside of the 7-floor stupa pagoda. Without a doubt, they had been eliminated. Su Xing was inwardly speechless. This Buddha West approaches had a fully justified reputation, as expected. The trials of the 7-floor stupa pagoda truly were somewhat excessive. Just this first level was very profound. If it was not for Su Xing forgetting time by comprehending the meditative mind lotus seed, perhaps he also would have grown impatient. Just that Buddhist chanting lingering in the air was fatal to many cultivators not favorable to Buddhism. Interesting, interesting. Su Xing said to himself, even more somewhat expectant. Upon entering the 2nd floor, the scene changed again. As far as the eye could, there unexpectedly was a blissful world. Su Xing looked and discovered the people he come with were all gone. Even Wu Xiao had disappeared without a trace. It seemed that each floor of the 7-floor stupa pagoda was truly an individual world. Obviously, they had entered together, nevertheless, each had their own world. Furthermore, this world seemed to be vast and boundless. Su Xing wrinkled his brow. How should he cross this level? Thinking for a long time, Su Xing did not understand. He might as well not think further. It was a Buddhist mystery anyways. Su Xing on his riding sword searched for the exit to the 3rd level in this void paradise. Suddenly, at this moment, a white dove flew over from the horizon. This was the first time Su Xing had seen a living thing. Immediately, he chased, but when that white dove saw Su Xing, it did not flee. On the contrary, it very urgently and madly slammed into Su Xing's chest. Save me, sire, I can assist sire. The white dove flapped its wings and spoke in human tongue. How will you repay me? Su Xing thought this was interesting. Suddenly, he thought of something, can you bring me to the 3rd floor? Just as the white dove was about to reply, a powerful aggression came from the horizon. A seemingly earth-shattering figure rolled over, that was a giant, golden-winged hawk. This hawk wants to eat me, I implore sire to save me. The white dove trembled and hid into Su Xing's chest. Where do you think you can run to? The golden hawk shouted, the golden wind its wings created scratching painfully against Su Xing's skin. Let me go, if you miss me, you can still catch the next one, but I have only this one life. The white dove pitifully said. The golden hawk said, how could I not understand the logic of what you say, but I am starved to death right now. If I do not eat you, I have no way of living. It is not easy for everyone to stay alive in this world, and if I was not so close to my own end, I would not have chased so relentlessly. Sire, please save me. The white dove said. The golden hawk said, Sire, please be compassionate. If you save this dove's life, could it be you have the heart to watch this old hawk starve to death? When Su Xing heard these words, he suddenly understood the situation that had happened this time. Was this not the old story of how Buddha carved his own flesh for the hawk? Fuck. He would not have me carve my own flesh, right? Su Xing was speechless. Sire, please release that white dove, I must eat it today. It was reasonable to say that Su Xing should at this time learn that, if I do not enter hell, then who will enter hell, or whatever that Siddhartha Gautama had once said. Then, he would carve flesh that was equivalent in size to that dove and complete this floor, but Su Xing knew that it was only after Buddha completely carved his flesh that he became Buddha, let alone, I am not so brainless to want to mutilate myself. But if he did not do something, perhaps that would be inconsistent with Buddhism? Considering some more, Su Xing then coldly chuckled. Forgive me, but I am also hungry. Since this dove has entered my embrace, it has connection with my stomach. Su Xing pinched the white dove and placed it against his chest, and the white dove was completely flabbergasted. The golden hawk was also dumbstruck. This motherfucker was fighting for food. Are you serious? That the weak are prey to the strong has been a truth since ancient times. Now that the white dove has entered my bosom, is there not fate? Su Xing said, you had better quickly go back. Do not disturb my peace in eating the dove. Woo! The white dove wailed. The golden hawk shrieked, what an eloquent mouth. Today, this hawk shall eat your full stomach. The golden hawk shuddered and transformed into a ferocious, golden-armored man. That suits me perfectly. Where there was cause, there was effect. Su Xing nodded. With a boom, the golden hawk man launched an attack. Seeing his double talons were like blade, imposing and fierce, Su Xing did not dare underestimate him. Before he finished speaking, the golden talons already attacked. When he lifted his head, his expression was keen, flashing a raging golden light. The moment he blocked, sparks flew in every direction. His arm immediately was scratched bloody. The speed was so quick. Su Xing called forth his flying swords, but this golden hawk was faster than divine intent, snatching the first step to attack. Su Xing put his hands together, releasing purple mansion immortal thunder. Purple lotus flowers blossomed by the hundred. The golden hawk spread his wings, suddenly releasing golden light to directly destroy this purple mansion immortal thunder. Not good, this is the void paradise. This golden hawk perhaps is somewhat difficult. Su Xing's eyes that were black as deep waters showed slight surprise. He basically did not expect this golden hawk to transform and have martial force and ferocity that did not lose out to a star general. Even more unexpected was that this golden hawk's attack was like a hurricane, which felt more or less the same as fighting a star general. So long as Su Xing was slightly careless or unable to keep up with the golden hawk's tempo, then the end would be a tragic death. The golden hawk excelled in speed and used in the first moment its most expert attack style to suppress Su Xing. A pinwheel-like attack continuously struck Su Xing's body. The powerful strength gave rise to a contorted posture, releasing an ear-piercing, hua, hua, sound. Under these consecutive attacks, Su Xing still maintained indifference on his face. His movements also exceeded the golden hawk's imagination. The golden hawk suddenly revolted and was already quick, but Su Xing nevertheless adapted little by little. He began to resist part of the assault. Although he still completely lost the chance to counterattack, being continuously struck towards the void, he did not stop in the slightest. I will tear your flesh. The golden hawk's talon ripped. You came at the perfect time. What Su Xing wanted was this opportunity. The Su Xing that had long been entangled in consecutive strikes suddenly changed defensive stances. His body like a spring, under such dire circumstances, he launched his counterattack. Dodging with a super-fast lean, his arms and legs attacked like a downpour upon release, repeatedly landing on the golden armored body of the golden hawk, tearing apart his powerful golden armor defense. How could he have ever seen such a frightening assault? The golden hawk showed astonishment, his face already beginning to become stern, even somewhat unsightly. His eye even showed a grave light. His whole body tightly rolled up, and the Buddhist light and golden armor of his whole body wildly revolved. The deep golden light around him flashed and wrapped around him. No longer did he consider the possibility for counterattack, he could only hope to defend to his utmost until the moment Su Xing was powerless. His complexion was still flat as before. Su Xing's attack was continuous without end, and he softly chuckled. His body once again flipped in the air, already arriving behind the golden hawk. So fast. The golden hawk turned around in surprise. Su Xing borrowed the force of his spin, and kicking from top to bottom, his leg fiercely stamped against the golden hawk's back. Bang! An enormous noise sounded. The terrifying force instantly engulfed his whole body like a tide. He did not even have the chance to scream. His entire person already was like a stone falling from the sky. Being firmly pressed by Su Xing, because the force was too strong, his entire body seemed to become twisted. That protective golden light enveloping him was in even worse shape, scattered and smashed. Boom! The quiet void paradise gave rise to a powerful earthquake. Those golden sand Buddhalands and polo divine flowers fiercely exploded, just like they had been struck by the hammer of an ancient war god. They fiercely shot towards the sky, and seeing that rolling cloud of sand dust, it was like a surging sea. Flipping light as a feather, Su Xing softly landed on the ground, not disturbing the slightest speck of dust. His whole body was relaxed, as if he had just finished a walk. He completely lacked a taxed appearance. As if that intense assault just now was completely unrelated to him. Breathing deeply, Su Xing clenched his fists. His hands somewhat hurt. He could not tell if this golden hawk was an illusion or if it was real, but it was somewhat excessively powerful. Damn it, with a face wearing some fury, the golden hawk climbed up from the dust. His entire person was ice cold, but for some unknown reason, he nevertheless completely lacked the intention to continue attacking. He just quietly stood in front of Su Xing, those abyss-like eyes closely stared at Su Xing's face. But Su Xing clearly felt a formless aggression begin to settle. The air ceased its circulation, yet this golden hawk did not show any moves. With a sneer, the golden hawk suddenly launched its attack. Su Xing blocked, but suddenly before his eyes, the golden hawk man inconceivably disappeared. "I will eat you." A terrifying voice came from behind him. Turning his head to look, a giant and bloody mouth bit at Su Xing. "Ah, we're about to be eaten." The white dove wildly scuttled around Su Xing's chest. Su Xing was also greatly surprised. He was simply unable to believe that this golden hawk's speed was so swift. Legends said that the giant rock that spreads its wings hated heaven to no end. This golden hawk appeared also to be so. Su Xing extended a hand and beckoned, his flying sword soaring out, but the golden hawk completely had no misgivings biting onto the flying swords. With the sound of tearing flesh, a wound deep enough to see bone was carved down from Su Xing's shoulder. Damn it! Su Xing did not know when the golden hawk transformed, but his two legs had already become two giant talons, the claws seizing the opportunity scratched deep wounds into him. The pain made Su Xing draw in a breath and at the same time sense that the wives sleeping inside the star nest seemed also about to wake up. "Don't disturb my wives' sleep." Bang! The air violently let out an enormous noise. Su Xing's speed instantly rose to the limit. His entire body gave rise to afterimages, basically unable to see clearly. The sound of whistling wind pierced the sky, so much so that it seemed about to cut apart space, rushing back up towards the golden hawk. The golden hawk's eyes were dazzled, completely not reacting. Su Xing raised his hand, and the flying swords formed a giant blade. Although he was not clear on what the background of this golden hawk was, regardless of what was said, Su Xing knew he could not waste time, and he did not wish to cause the girls inside the star nest worry. At once, he no longer held back, seizing that painful instant to slightly use a range of the chaotic tail escape that his body could still bear. Su Xing's speed honestly was too quick, astonishing the golden hawk. He basically was too late to hear any sound. The golden hawk's entire body had already been struck by an enormous force. That strength was great, the golden armor of his whole body incapable of completely stopping it. The bones in his body could even be heard groaning, and his entire body already shot far away like a cannonball. Thus, he was incapable of rising anymore. The golden hawk was at its last gasp. Su Xing's hand beckoned, and Langya congregated into a giant sword that spiraled in the sky, like a vulture that had spied its carrion, emitting a severe sword chi. You wanting to eat your servant was the cause, me killing you is the effect. Cause and effect are settled, sadhu, sadhu. Su Xing put his hands together, putting on an act of sympathy. In its heart, the golden hawk cursed this man in front of it shamelessly. The flying swords twisted and turned it to yellow sands and smithereens. Ah, the screams of the girls came from inside his ocean of consciousness. Shi Yuan and the others had been woken up. Why can't this young lady leave the star nest? Shi Yuan went mad. What about the other elder sisters? Unable to do so. All of them were like Shi Yuan. The star nest had seemed to have been frozen, and they were incapable of breaking free. The so-called star nest was like a river wrapping around the cosmos, flowing without end, but suddenly, this river had seemingly frozen over. Su Xing and the rest were incapable of breaking out in any way. This certainly made the girls stumped. For star generals to be unable to leave the star nest, things were certainly grave. Probably it is because of this 7-floor stupa pagoda. Su Xing actually was very unperturbed. Seeing that every layer of this 7-floor stupa pagoda was like a celestial. They were increasingly certain this was definitely an immemorial or ancient spirit treasure. Since this was the inside of a spirit treasure, being trapped was not a complete mystery. Woo! It's fine. Since the holy monk dares use the stupa pagoda as a trial, naturally he would have planned thoroughly. Being unable to go out is normal. I can settle this matter myself, I just have to work sincerely. There was only this way. The group was helpless. Big brother, then are your injuries all right? And Suan asked, concerned. Their contractor had been injured. The girls inside the star nest naturally could sense this. Su Xing inspected his wounds. In Su Xing's experience, these could only count as flesh wounds. He took out pills to ingest, and then he took out that white dove hiding in his chest. Noble warrior, Buddha, hero, please spare me. The white dove had put its wings together in prayer, a very comical scene. Now that I've saved you, how will you repay me? Su Xing smiled. Ah. You won't eat me? Your meat isn't enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. Su Xing licked his teeth, and the white dove shuddered. Don't waste time. Directly inform me, how should I get to the 3rd floor? Since it was Buddha who carved his flesh for the hawk, this was the trial, right? Su Xing said. Then I must ask that noble warrior first release me. The white dove bashfully said. Su Xing turned grim. His mind said, what is this dove doing acting shy, and the girls inside the star nest giggled. His fingers let go, and the white dove flapped its wings, soaring freely in circles. Please, benefactor. A solemn Buddhist voice rang throughout the boundless void, and Su Xing's face turned pious. A bang. The white dove released white light. That feeble little body immediately transformed in midair to something more blinding than the sun. Su Xing shut his eyes uncomfortably, and by the time the light had faded, a flight of steps extending to the upper level had appeared in front of him. That honestly was a lot of trouble. Su Xing thought. He stepped up the steps, walking slowly towards the upper floor. Wu Xinjie was very depressed. Not outside of her expectations, though she wished to go into this 7-floor stupa pagoda to test this holy monk's sermon, she had been washed out before even finishing the 1st floor. When she thought of getting close, the surroundings of the 7-floor stupa pagoda already had a forbid dance. She walked at a restaurant and gazed at that distant pagoda. Wu Xinjie sighed. She wondered how young Lord was doing right now. She heard people discussing in the surroundings that tens of thousands of cultivators had lost their chance during the 1st level. Wu Xinjie inwardly rebuked that this trial was too abnormal, and her heart was worried. Lin Yingmei was the same as always. Her eyes had an indescribable tranquility, and her heroism was nowhere to be seen. Passers-by repeatedly raised their eyebrows at her. Wu Xinjie rubbed her chin, and she curiously asked, Lin Yingmei, are you regretting it now? Regret? Are you referring to the star nest? Lin Yingmei's brows rose. Wu Xinjie nodded. As their contractors' star generals, to be unable to stand beside their star master at moments of crisis was perhaps a serious blow to the majestic star. Of course, an even more important point was that having lost the star nest, the contracted star general's greatest advantage of immortality had also vanished from the face of the earth. With Xiao and Lewdly, your servant has faith they can protect young master. Lin Yingmei was calm, her appearance seemingly unconcerned with anything else. Wu Xinjie smiled. Her problems were unnecessary. Originally, when she broke through that last layer in their relationship, naturally, she had already considered this sort of consequence. Now, discussing it afterwards, regret was merely self-deprecating. Besides, majestic star panther head Lin Chong was a top-notch star general anyway it was put. The so-called immortality honestly was not on her mind. Otherwise, the majestic star would not have declined contracts for a millennia. Your servant is actually worried about elder sister. Lin Yingmei answered back. Now that Maiden Mountain had now intervened, and the future star duels would inevitably be very violent. As far as the knowledge star that completely lacked martial force and magic energy was concerned, losing the star nest honestly was dangerous to the extreme. Wu Xinjie showed a completely unworried smile. After several cups of green tea, Lin Yingmei pursed her thin lips. From then until now, there have always been people staring at us. Are they monks of the Happiness Together courtyard? Wu Xinjie was indifferent. Each person possesses their own life, but not everyone understands living. Thus, to treasure life, for those that do not understand living, living is a kind of punishment to them. Wu Xinjie seemed to be taking pity on a pitiful creature. Just oblige them, elder sister also has very Chan logic. Lin Yingmei was thoughtful. Just superficially. Wu Xinjie smiled. Then, she gazed at the 7th-floor stupa pagoda. Xinjie wonders how young lord is right now. Xinjie somewhat misses him. Lin Yingmei was frozen for a bit. She said, if young lord is defeated, what should we do? Defeated? Wu Xinjie charmingly winked. Yingmei, what does the first wife say we should do then? Lin Yingmei suddenly understood. Her gaze similarly turned to that pagoda, carrying a chill that reached the bone. At this time, Su Xing had finally finished climbing the flight of stairs and entered the 3rd level of the 7th-floor stupa pagoda. What made Su Xing very disappointed was that this level similarly did not have Wu Xiao's figure. What entered his view was still a mundane world, but this world was somewhat different compared to the 2nd level. The ground had golden polo flowers piled like a sea, countless golden shala and bodhi wood forming a forest, and the trees were full of blooming shala flowers, more lush than snow. Without Buddhist chanting lingering, without red-crowned cranes or magic clouds, there was only this towering golden shala and bodhi grove standing in this world. The sound of wind whistled, and the shala and bodhi trees rustled. Golden flower petals successively drifted across the whole sky, just like flying snow. As if he was in the middle of paradise, it was beautiful beyond belief. Quiet. A deep quiet. Su Xing had never felt such peace. Even the Shi Yuan that was currently complaining about being unable to leave the star nest had fallen silent. Stepping forward on the soft polo tree flower petals, Su Xing did not forget the objective of this trip was not to cultivate his mind. His divine intent expanded, and his gaze swept around, searching for the entrance into the 4th level. Finally, amidst the dense shala and bodhi, Su Xing found a bodhi gate. Things were apparently more simple than he had imagined. Su Xing walked quickly over, and very quickly he reached the front of those bodhi gates. The scene he saw before him suddenly stunned him. The passage to the fourth level of the pagoda indeed was in front of him, but in front of the gate was a white-haired and extremely aged monk currently in quiet meditation. His apparently frail body had a majesty that was more imposing than Mount Tai. He completely blocked that gate, which completely blocked that route. Su Xing slightly wrinkled his brow upon seeing this. He respectfully stepped forward and put his hands together in salute. "If your servant may ask, great master, what meaning is there in meditating here?" That old man was like an ancient Buddha, not caring for Su Xing's question. "Great master, is it possible to allow your servant to pass?" Buddha said, "For all living things, rid them of non-beneficial things, and that is known as great compassion, and for all that wish for measureless happiness, that is known as great sorrow, and for all living things whose hearts are filled with happiness, that is known as great joy, self-sacrifice for the happiness of others, to give alms to others, that is known as great abdication. Your servant asks great master move for convenience." Su Xing unloaded the Buddhist knowledge he had most recently crammed. But this Chang master was as if he had not heard, motionless and aloof. Not even a single strand of brow hair had moved. Su Xing again amiably said every sort of request, but no matter how much Su Xing chapped his lips, this old monk seemed to have entered into a deep meditative state, remaining unmoved. If it was not for Su Xing sensing this old monk's breathing, he would have doubted if in fact the old man was a statue. "Su Xing, just move him aside. What are you doing wasting breath on him?" Shi Yuan was very direct. If it was not for this young lady being unable to come out, this young lady would have patted this old monk's clothes down. "See how he'll meditate through that." "You honor, you can't be so rude." Su Xing smiled and chided her. "Oh. But what will Big Brother do now? This great master has blocked the road, and you cannot go forward." And Suan said, "Perhaps you must defeat him." Tang Lianxin guessed. "Nope." Su Xing was very certain. All of the girls felt confused at Su Xing's firmness. Yan Yizhen asked if master had discovered some mystery. Su Xing looked at the surroundings and explained, "You girls can see that this place is abnormally quiet, without any killing intent. That indicates the third trial test's calmness." Even Su Xing the layman somewhat understood. What Chan cultivation paid attention to most was this calmness word. Furthermore, this calmness was all-inclusive. How could it not have touched upon the fringe of killing intent? If someone were to get angry because words were incapable of persuasion, then he would be trapped by outer appearances, confused by an idea. Of course, he would have no qualifications to hear the holy monk's Chan techniques. Hearing Su Xing's explanation, the girls suddenly understood, Big Brother truly is very proficient in Buddhism. And Suan was very reverent. "I only know the surface of Buddhism, however, I did practice psychology before at the Air Force Academy. This environment is more or less susceptible to psychological activity." Su Xing smiled. The girls thinly smiled. They had previously heard Wu Xinjie mention this psychological activity subject when she previously spoke of solving the puzzles of ruins. Although they had never heard of this, they only treated it as some secret technique. "Your Highness, what should be done now?" Gongsun Huang was puzzled. Su Xing could even imagine the little lowly's innocent face adorably at a loss. "Let's take a look first," Su Xing said. The gate was in view right in front of him, but having exhausted every sort of method and not being able to make this monk move in the slightest, it seemed this level would not be very easy. But how do they cross? Su Xing racked his brains for a solution. Since there was a vulnerability, there was a breaking point. There should be some clues. Recalling the story of Buddha carving his flesh for the hawk on the second level, Su Xing immediately recalled this perhaps would be related to some classical story. The girls inside the star nest pondered a moment. The girls who completely lacked any knowledge of Buddhism were without a solution. Things would have been solved if Wu Xiao was here. She was very understanding of Buddhism, and it was certain she could grasp the theory. Otherwise, Wu Xinjie would also have been good. The knowledge star was very resourceful and more careful than himself. Obviously, They had not been separated for more than a day, but it felt as if 10,000 years had passed. No wonder Su Xing missed them. No can do, I have to calm down. Su Xing similarly sat facing the monk and entered meditation. The heart-like mirror soul technique had nearly reached the still water realm. Su Xing only felt it, the sound of a slight wind, the sound of flowers falling, slightly entering his ear, the sound of breathing, the extreme quiet of the void, faintly entering his mind. The world's myriad noises were entirely quiet. Even the ladies inside the star nest sensed this. Wind blew, flowers fell, silent, Bodhi, old monk, ancient Buddha. Suddenly, there was clarity in his mind. Su Xing opened his eyes. He looked around at those petals drifting down, and he abruptly had an epiphany. So it turned out to be this. This was truly a clever arrangement. Su Xing exclaimed. Su Xing, you understand it? Sure, Yuan asked in pleasant surprise. Su Xing affirmed. He rose and saluted. He then walked towards those Shala and Bodhi trees, raised his head to gaze at the countless polo leaves drifting down, and extended a hand to pick 2 flowers. This is to present Buddha with borrowed flowers. Su Xing smiled. Ah. To present Buddha with borrowed flowers, N. Su Xing nodded with certainty. So it was this. The deft of mind Yan Yizhen was the very first to understand. She then explained to the sisters, and Shi Yuan inwardly cursed that this monk was truly shameless. She probably felt this was robbery, that sort of, if you wish to pass, leave your money and valuables behind. However, I fear it isn't so simple. Su Xing said. Could it be incorrect? It doesn't matter. Let's test it first, then see. Su Xing took a deep breath and walked towards the ancient Buddha. Great Master's meditation is profound. Your servant reveres it. This golden polo flower is borrowed to present to Buddha. Your servant asks that Great Master shows how to get on the right path. Su Xing was already sufficiently pious, his heart somewhat nervous. If this old Buddha was still aloof, Su Xing honestly was in dire straits. He considered taking a risk out of desperation. Fortunately, this time, Su Xing's judgment was correct. The statue-like old Buddha finally opened his mouth. Set down. Su Xing inwardly breathed a sigh of relief. To be able to speak indicated that presenting Buddha with borrowed flowers was indeed correct. He then set down one of the golden polo flowers. The old monk again said, set down. Su Xing set down the other flower. Seeing this, the old monk still spat out 2 words. Set down. Su Xing was taken aback. Staring in surprise at him, Great Master, both of your servants' hands are already empty, what else is there to set down? The old monk's eyes were shut, and he shook his head. If benefactor can truly set down, then poor monk can give benefactor a sermon. Then, the monk continued to shut his eyes and meditate silently. What is this monk doing? Shi Yuan was about to go mad. Obviously, the flowers had been set down. Was he blind? Or maybe deliberately being difficult? The thief star truly very much wanted to rush out and scream. Little sister, do not be angry. It will affect big brother. And Suan promptly said. Within the star nest, star generals and contractors were one. Her fury would influence Su Xing's thinking. Sorry, Su Xing. Shi Yuan guiltily said. Su Xing did not mind. He currently was devoted to delving into the meaning behind what the old monk had said. Buddhism's Chan techniques loved to play with specious word games, and Su Xing knew this. His presentation of borrowed flowers to the Buddha was not wrong, but just what was the mystery of set down? Was the polo flower the problem? Or was he missing something else? Su Xing furrowed his brow, pondering as he strolled around this pure land, searching for any place of this pure land that stood out from the rest, to see if he could perhaps find inspiration. However, these Shala and Bodhi trees were all the same. Even the flower petals were the same way, difficult to distinguish. Su Xing was somewhat at wit's end about the profundity of this Buddhism. Set down. Su Xing looked at his hands. Faintly, he had grasped the crucial point, but there still was a little thing missing. Seeing Su Xing so vexed, Shi Yuan was even more loathing towards that monk's deliberate complexity. This young lady hates this monk. In the end, Su Xing, what are you winning favor with this monk? This young lady, would directly beat him to a bloody pulp. See how he poses as an adept removed from the world then. I am winning favor with him. Su Xing paused. This young lady is only describing that borrowing flowers to present to Buddha. Don't you get the wrong idea? Shi Yuan hastily corrected. Su Xing laughed. So it was this. Master. Many thanks, Your Honor. I finally know what to set down. This Buddhism honestly is indeed fond of making things overly complicated. Really? Did Your Honor really help you? Shi Yuan was somewhat embarrassed. Watch. If this time doesn't work, I'll listen to Your Honor. 2. Su Xing once again picked 2 golden polo flowers and walked over. This did not appear any different from the last time. Su Xing spoke without hurry and even activated the extreme sincerity soul technique to its limit, making himself reach the heart still as water realm. Your servant asks Great Master to show how to get on the right path. Su Xing was very earnest. Set down. The old monk was still as before. Su Xing set down the golden polo flower of his left hand. Set down. The golden polo flower in his right hand was set down at the same time. Su Xing, just what do you think you're doing? Shi Yuan did not understand. The other beauties did not dare breathe, so as to avoid affecting Su Xing. So far, there seemed to have been nothing special. Could it be he won't say, set down anymore? Shi Yuan thought. Set down. Which made the thief star very disappointed. This old monk again spat out these 2 words. Su Xing at this time was empty-handed, with nothing to put down. However, Su Xing nevertheless put his hands together, bringing up a completely pious salutation. The old monk then opened his eyes and returned the greeting. The meditative mind is by comprehension, and the gates to Buddhism shall open. Benefactor, please. After speaking, the old monk's figure transformed into golden polo flowers that filled the sky and disappeared. Ah! Why's that? Shi Yuan and the others stared dumbly. They could not understand what the situation was. Su Xing merely bowed, nothing more, and this monk's attitude made a 180-degree turn, which was too strange. Big brother, just what did you do? And Suan asked the question that was on their minds. Su Xing's face slowly recovered its normal appearance, and he chuckled. I merely truly set down. What do you mean truly set down? Shi Yuan was bewildered. The so-called third set down was precisely this mind of borrowing flowers to present to Buddha. Su Xing did not keep them waiting as he explained. Shi Yuan said that Su Xing ought not to curry favor with the monk, and then Su Xing finally understood what the last, set down, was missing. This was precisely Su Xing's first thought of borrowing flowers to present to Buddha. Setting down the intent to obtain approval was the true trial of the Stupa Pagoda's 3rd realm. They were also deft of mind, and very quickly, they understood Su Xing's meaning. They could not help but be speechless. The mysteries of Buddhism honestly were too ingenious. This simply was like a monster. However, that Su Xing could smoothly enter the 4th floor of the Stupa Pagoda made them expand their horizons, satisfying them endlessly. For this Buddhism to be so difficult, Suan wonders how elder sister Wu Xiao is right now. And Suan was somewhat anxious. Xiao understands Buddhism more than I do. This is just a cheap trick plus luck. If it was Xiao, perhaps things would be even simpler. Su Xing smiled. As far as cultivators that truly comprehended Buddhism, perhaps this borrowing flowers to present to Buddha was obvious at a glance. Thinking of this, Su Xing suddenly was somewhat curious about the 7th-floor Stupa Pagoda. In the Void Paradise, the sounds of body endlessly entered the ear. A dragon roar quaked, blowing a severe hurricane. A beautiful silhouette traveled back and forth in attack. When the smoke and dust cleared, a wonderfully cool and elegant stance was revealed. Wu Xiao. Where there is cause, there is effect. You still have the chance to repent. In front of Wu Xiao was a golden-winged, rock-like man. His aggression was fierce, his hands like sharp blades. You wish to have your servant carve her flesh. Wu Xiao's gaze contained only 2 words, how laughable. The harm star swayed. She disappeared from where she was, the cool and elegant sword tip directly brushing by the golden-winged rock's body, sending this arrogant man directly flying away. Wu Xiao slashed downwards. A golden figure very quickly pounced from the side, and the harm star's hard leg swept to block. This golden-winged rock's speed was extremely fast, instantly arriving in front of her, but Wu Xiao's attack clearly was not slow. The golden-winged rock's arms blocked. The pressure from Wu Xiao's kick made his appearance malevolent, feel his bones about to shatter. After the kick, Wu Xiao then punched. This time, she sent the man flying. Damn it! The golden-winged rock flapped his wing with all his might, waving his weapon, his attacks in disarray and chaos. Wu Xiao nimbly advanced, her graceful stance only containing 2 words for the foe, how laughable. What was going on? Before the golden-winged rock could understand, Wu Xiao once again disappeared, and her sword approached from the west. The air between the two once again splashed with violent sparks. This time, her strength did not run through the golden-winged rock's irate defenses. The golden armor of his whole body crisscrossed, and like a bloody sword, simultaneously launched, cutting apart a bone-chilling cold. However, this sort of defense was far from enough. Wu Xiao was but a martial general that stood between the peaks of power and speed. When Wu Xiao's double-ended sword Noble Frost Demonic Lotus played audible chants on that golden armor defense, the harm star's figure also instantly launched thoroughly. Consecutive slashes like a storm suppressed the golden-winged rock, making his protective barrier let out shrill laments. Although he obviously knew that he could defend if he concentrated his power, let alone that the rock could complete those movements right now, even just seeing the path of the opponent's sword was basically impossible. The sword wind pierced through the barrier and once again ruthlessly bit into its prey's body. The blood spatter that flew stained the golden wings red, and the eye-catching color of scarlet dyed those golden clothes. The golden-winged rock used all his strength to stop it, but Wu Xiao was calm, more monstrous than he. She completely was indifferent. The sole existing objective of this ice-cold martial general who rejected all sentiment was to dispatch the opponent. Damn it, it is over. The golden-winged rock silently shouted. He fought as hard as he could. His golden wings became countless saber lights and sword shadows that pounced at Wu Xiao from every direction. He attempted to kill the woman, but Wu Xiao's lips curled into a sneer. Instantly, Noble Frost Demonic Lotus blossomed. The harm star was like a sharp long sword. She pierced through the void. A booming shatter. Golden feathers drifted down across the entire sky. The golden-winged rock man stared in disbelief at the giant hole in his belly. To think of making your servant carve her flesh, you had best see how much you have yourself. Wu Xiao stowed her sword, uttering an ice-cold assertion. The golden sand rolled in waves, with dust flying upwards in chaos. Amidst the wind-blown dust, a man forged his way out against the wind. He spat several times, ejecting several large mouthfuls of the yellow sand. This Buddhist power is rather too excessive, to unexpectedly seem actually able to create a celestial. The man was attractive in appearance. Naturally, he was Su Xing gazing around at this boundless lust, he felt even more helpless. This place was the 4th level of the 7-floor stupa pagoda. As tranquil as the 3rd level, this 4th celestial could be considered berserk. The yellow sand rolled irritatingly to the point a person simply could not open their eyes, and star energy had seemingly lost its use. Those fine sand particles made their way in from the small chinks in clothes. Sticking to skin, they were very uncomfortable, with Su Xing completely losing all sense of direction. The environment was vile to the extreme. However, compared to this, what made Su Xing even more gloomy was that he was completely unclear what the fable of the 7-floor stupa pagoda's 4th level was, nor did he know how long he had searched futilely for the exit before finding none. This made Su Xing have a very helpless feeling. Do you want to give up instead? Shi Yuan felt very sorry. Compared to listening to holy monks propagate Dharma to bloom the meditative flower, the thief star still felt there was a more convenient way, for example, going and stealing that 5 dragons colored glass lamp. There must be sincerity for this sort of thing. To give up here certainly isn't my style. How could Su Xing not know her thoughts? He breathed deeply, unwilling to concede defeat. All of the girls tacitly understood. Although he was not clear on the significance of this yellow sand, Su Xing still did not give up, still swiftly flying in the boundlessly rolling yellow dust. The ferried are hard to come by, like the excellent queen of the night. The ferried are like the dirt in my fist, the unferried like the great earth. Unknown how long after, Su Xing suddenly heard a spirit song faintly discernible in the yellow sand. That voice was like the sound of nature, graceful. Once it entered his ear, it immediately made Su Xing feel that the yellow sand filling the sky seemingly disappear. Su Xing stopped for a moment and stared in front of him. This voice was somewhat familiar. A moment later, a woman dressed in simple and elegant blue and white walked out, her steps delicate as flowers, her posture lithe. The yellow sand rolled up to and away from her body, scattering then gathering, yet simply unable to approach her. Qingzi, Su Xing was stunned. Qingzi was similarly surprised, stopping her song. Looking at Su Xing, those eyes that were more limpid than jade flashed with a strange light. Truly, we have a connection. Su Xing descended before her. Qingzi subconsciously took a half step back. Although her movement did not leave a trace, this nevertheless did not escape Su Xing's attention. Su Xing did not change expression, but he concentrated on Qingzi. Every time he saw her, he would have a feeling as if heaven and man were shocked, as if she could have appeared only in a portrait. Beautifully graceful, not displeasing to the eye. Why has young Lord Su Xing come to this 7-floor stupa pagoda? Qingzi's face wore a delighted smile. Looking at this 7-floor stupa pagoda isn't anything bad. Never expected you to also have a very meditative mind, Qingzi. I truly couldn't tell. Su Xing showed a bit of surprise. Qingzi smiled, the mind is namely that of the meditative mind. The logic is inherently the same. As young lord is a star master, are you not allowed to come to this pagoda? Exactly. Su Xing nodded, however, seeing you is actually too good, Qingzi. Do you know how to go about this 4th level of the stupa pagoda? Does young lord also not know? Qingzi's long eyelashes trembled. Su Xing shook his head. The mysteries of Buddhism's trials are too numerous. For the time being, I haven't figured it out. One man walking alone just happens to feel monotonous, and since our goals are identical, would it not be better to journey forth together? 2 people can comprehend the profundity even more quickly. Qingzi thought for a while, and then she slightly nodded her head, then your servant shall trouble young Lord Su Xing. The 2 slowly wandered the yellow sand, thinking of a way to deal with this. During that time, each of Su Xing's conjectures he proposed to Qingzi were very promising, but she was like Su Xing. Qingzi completely did not know where the mystery of this yellow sand was. There was no sense of time in the void, and gradually, the pair no longer asked. Qingzi, that song earlier, what did you mean when you said, the ferried are hard to come by? Su Xing was very curious. That is from the Nirvana Sutra. When Mara asks Buddha that with the number of living things he has ferried, too, he should have entered nirvana by now, Buddha grasps a handful of dirt and says, the ferried are like the dirt in my fist, and the unferried are like the great earth, the great earth? Would that have some connection with this level? Su Xing wrinkled his brow, and he grasped a clump of yellow dirt from the ground. Seeing Su Xing sink into contemplation, Qingzi slightly smiled to the side, not disturbing him. Your servant also feels making contact with such a scene produces this feeling. Your servant wonders if young Lord Su Xing can discern anything. Yellow earth, the fairied living, nirvana, the great earth? Su Xing played with the yellow sand and dust in his palm, sprinkling then gathering, gathering then sprinkling, repeatedly and reversed. He concentrated completely and forgot the surrounding environment. Qingxi watched Su Xing, feeling that this man's earnest pondering appearance was rather fascinating. Now is a good time to kill him. In her sea of consciousness, a murderous and inflamed voice resounded. Qingxi's heart stirred. That white finger subconsciously gripped tightly. Su Xing is so powerful. Even Lu Junyi has conceded defeat. Normally, killing him indeed is as difficult as ascending to heaven. Now is the perfect opportunity. Wang Jingji also analyzed. This moment truly was bestowed by heaven. The 7-floor stupa pagoda had sealed the star nest, and Su Xing could not call forth star generals for assistance. His advantage had completely disappeared, and even more important was that at this moment, he seemed completely unaware, the adorable appearance of something craning its neck as it awaited slaughter, but to plan this against a cute and fascinating person pondering earnestly made Wang Jingji feel it was a pity. Qingxi showed a hesitant expression. By Qingxi's dragon has 9 suns magic weapon, the Yazi saber appeared. To separate Su Xing's head from the rest of his body was not necessarily too probable. If it was not for being unable to emerge, your servant would have immediately taken his head. Little Marquis of Wenlu Fang was unreconciled. Sister Qingxi, what misgivings do you still have? The living goddess of lightning Wang Jingji smiled. Even Buddha is helping elder sister. Qingxi's hesitation still did not dispel. Killer Starry Longkue gloomily growled, Elder sister Qingxi, there absolutely cannot be any mercy in elder sister's heart in the star duels. Could it be that elder sister has forgotten she shall lead us up Maiden Mountain? The black whirlwind's words were like thunder in her ears, shaking Qingxi into staring blankly on the spot. Qingxi really was not unclear about this logic, but by doing so, the sisters inside Su Xing's star nest will die. 3. Oh, elder sister is concerned about this, her words made Wang Jingji and the others surprised. This is the path they themselves chose. Big sister, kill him. Spare the trouble later. Li Longkue absolutely was not the least bit merciful. The killer star's eyes always had only 2 kinds of people, the sisters that followed elder sister and the sisters that died under her axe. It seemed this apparently iron truth was one even a sluggish person would find profound. Neither did Qingxi know why she did not wish to deal a killing blow. Could it be because the several times they met before, she felt Su Xing was not a foe? However, looking now, Su Xing coming to this 7-floor stupa pagoda very clearly illustrated he had come for the heavenly solitary star, as Lu Xiao had said. For this man to be able to reach this stage, perhaps he honestly could possibly create a miracle. Seize this chance to kill him. An idea flashed by. 2 things fill the mind with ever-increasing wonder and awe, the more often and the more intensely the mind of thought is drawn to them, the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. Suddenly, Su Xing's gentle laugh ended Qingxi's struggle. Su Xing had already woken from his contemplation, and a slight feeling of relief, like that of unloading a burden, flashed through Qingxi's heart. No wonder Lin Chong and Wu Song would be willing to follow young Lord Su Xing. These words are very wise and knowledgeable. Qingxi returned to her senses. She carefully listened to the words Su Xing said and was startled to the extreme. These words were simply more philosophical than those of great monks that had attained the Tao. Even the star generals that itched to kill him as soon as possible were left tongue-tied, with a whole new level of respect for him. These aren't my words. Su Xing smiled. He did not want such a vain halo. They were words uttered by a philosopher named Kant. I am very fond of this saying. Su Xing's generous admission took Qingxi by surprise. This was more shocking than hearing the previous phrase. The starry heavens above me, the moral law within me. Qingxi pondered. Just now, you thought of killing me. Su Xing seemingly smiled. Although he had been continuously contemplating just now, the Yenesian and others inside the star nest nevertheless did not forget Qingxi's existence. Qingxi's hesitation and endlessly complex expression were entirely in Su Xing's eyes. Qingxi faintly smiled. Young Lord Su Xing, could it be you have not thought of killing your servant? There had never been a need to hide the calculations star masters had for each other in the star duels, instead, they would have felt artificial. I actually do not have interest in ruining a flower of my own accord. Su Xing said. When Qingxi heard Su Xing's phrase of my own accord, was the hidden meaning of his words, I will not hesitate at all to act? Should your servant rejoice? Qingxi's smile this time was full of mystique. I feel we actually are the same type of person. Su Xing looked at her. In a certain aspect, your servant is indeed very surprised at the similarities between young Lord Su Xing and your servant. Qingxi hinted. Su Xing laughed, it seems we indeed have a connection. You're actually quite like my big sister. If we do not make a move here, it would be better for you to be my little sister. Qingxi's lips parted, not understanding what the logical connection between, quite like your big sister, and, be your little sister, was. Young Lord Su Xing, are you making fun of your servant? I truly am thinking of this. Su Xing was resolute, absolutely not making fun of her in the slightest. Qingxi fell into deep thought. This man is deceiving elder sister, do not believe him. Li Longkuei's tone was fierce. Qingxi burst with a graceful and subdued smile. To make your servant be your little sister, young Lord Su Xing honestly will take the dominant position. Then are you willing to inform me your age? Your servant wishes to ask another question. Is young Lord Su Xing truly resolved to become sworn siblings with your servant, a star master? Su Xing nodded. So long as it's someone I'm fond of, I don't want to be enemies. How can your servant decline such an absolutely beneficial thing? However, to be your servant's big brother, perhaps is not so easy. Qingxi slightly smiled. It seemed he was not at all opposed to something like sworn siblings. Qingxi, then what do you want to do? Su Xing asked her. This sort of thing naturally will be known after comparison. Huh? You wouldn't think of fighting me here, right? Su Xing was speechless. Young Lord Su Xing, do not look down on your servant. Your servant once had the fortune of learning a bit of sword technique from a supervoid sword saint. Qingxi lightly spun, directly walking over. Supervoid sword saint? Was that not a sword cultivator that had reached supervoid stage cultivation? Although Yangshan continent's sword cultivators were many, those that cultivated to supervoid stage were exceedingly rare. Just what was the background of this Qingxi, to unexpectedly receive instruction from a supervoid sword saint? Su Xing was very skeptical, and the star maidens in the star nest did not believe her. Any way they looked, the Qingxi in front of them appeared like that legendary willow too weak to stand in the wind. Her delicate hands could write beautiful characters, Su Xing believed, but to speak of sword technique, he was very skeptical. Su Xing, you're so unfaithful. You must have seen that she was a beauty to want to become sworn siblings with her. Shi Yuan sourly said. She couldn't compare to any of you, even if she was any prettier. Su Xing shook his head. Although Qingxi's dainty beauty was graceful as a portrait, eliciting amazement, it was unlikely to make Su Xing so willing to become sworn siblings. The reason why was that besides indeed not wishing to voluntarily ruin a flower, there was also another reason, which was to trap her. Su Xing had a sort of premonition. The Qingxi in front of him would someday be a pivotal point in the star duels, so right now, Su Xing wanted for both sides to not reach a state of mutual hostility for as long as possible, to maintain good relations before a state of you die, I live. This sort of thing was nothing, anyways, let alone that what Su Xing said was slightly true. Qingxi's quiet personality, like the unmarried daughter of a noble family, was indeed very much like one of his elder female cousins from before. The feeling of having her call out big brother was not bad either. She indeed gives Suan a very familiar feeling. And Suan did not oppose Su Xing's thoughts. So long as she does not harm master. Yan Yizhen had always kept her private and public interests distinct. Gong Sun Huang and Tang Lianxin naturally did not have any dissent. Oh, boy, this young lady has to play the role of strict parent again. Shi Yuan groaned. The others could not help laughing. While Su Xing currently discussed with the girls inside the star nest, Qingxi was also putting on a similar show. However, compared to the harmony of Su Xing's side, Qingxi's star generals were far more intense. Other than comparable to Rengui Guoshui, who was not fond of chatting, they more or less expressed confusion. Li Longkue was particularly very belligerent. At the current phase, becoming sworn siblings with him does not have any disadvantages at all, and we perhaps will need his aid in the fourth phase. Qingxi explained. Is he worthy of belief? Worthy of belief or not, this poses no disadvantage to your servant, is that not so? Qingxi lightly smiled. Wu, it seems so, but, for elder sister to lose and recognize him as big brother, excessively haggling over gains and losses will only lead to gains that do not make up for losses, remember this sentence. Qingxi calmly said. She turned around, her blue clothes fluttering along with her hair. Those eyes clearer than gems stared at Su Xing, showing a mysterious luster. Your servant currently hesitates over the matter of his star generals. Now it seems, this sworn siblings matter is your servant's opportunity. What does elder sister mean? Li Longkue's anger had dissipated. The woman could hear the meaning of Qingxi's words. We will see at that time. Longkue, elder sister shall not be deceived by a few words from a man. Qingxi stared at Su Xing. It is perfect to borrow this opportunity to see the innate skill he inherited from the majestic star, to see what ability he possesses. Qingxi, have you finished preparing? Su Xing hollered from his side. Young Lord Su Xing, if you will. Qingxi flipped out a long sword in passing. This sword was completely translucent, especially the swordtip that seemed to be like water. A clear light flowed over the sword's body. With a look, he could tell it was an item out of the ordinary. This sword's name is Sublime Water. 5. Qingxi, you always self-address as your servant. 6, which actually makes you appear miserly. I feel it would be great if you addressed yourself as Qingxi. If I become your big brother, I definitely will have you change that. Su Xing feigned seriousness. Qingxi slightly smiled, but he did not know if she listened. Su Xing also took out one of the langia, and after both sides made their salutations. The next instant, Su Xing beautifully brandished a horizontal slash. Qingxi flung the sublime water sword. The sword edge was like an unfolding ribbon. The sword's trajectory immediately became unfathomable, and a cold light skimmed past Su Xing's eyes. Even if Qingxi was graceful, her attack method nevertheless far exceeded Su Xing's expectations. The sublime water sword transformed into a fairy. Su Xing retreated for the time being, blocking the sword light. A light at the end of the tunnel. Qingxi's wrist shook. Shua. The sword edge raged with rainwater. The yellow sands were swept aside, and her sword chi was like a water dragon, shaking a dazzling light inside the yellow wind. Then, it detoured past Su Xing's defenses from the most absurd angles. Suddenly, it wound its way back, rising and falling. The sword chi was erratic, attacking from an angle impossible to appear from. Su Xing leaned, and suddenly, he disappeared from Qingxi's eyes. Her brows creased, not showing the least bit of surprise. Even Su Xing had to endlessly praise this level of concentration. Little sister, take this. Su Xing closed in passing, langia slashing immediately afterwards. A crisp ring in the wind. When the sublime water sword touched langia, it suddenly transformed into a flexible net, and the sword tip bent and spun before Su Xing's eyes. A thin wound then bloomed. At the same time, Su Xing nevertheless already got close to Qingxi's chest. Qingxi did not change expressions. Her sword turned back, her beautiful eyes instantly bursting with a sort of rarely seen severity. The sword chi of the sublime water sword rolled out like a tide. The yellow sand and earth was shredded to pieces, but it tried in vain to swallow Su Xing. The latter rushed to keep away, and then his figure immediately swayed. Green light pierced through the sword chi directly at Qingxi. The spry long-skirted Qingxi did not retreat but rather advanced, directly receiving the attack. The girl's boldness and gentle appearance were completely inharmonious, however, in comparison to the Su Xing she faced, who had inherited battle doctrine, Qingxi honestly did not have any possibility of victory. A vacuum-like hurricane blew in the air. Bang, bang. The sublime water sword's soft sword edge was not able to reveal her gentleness this time. Langya beat the back of Qingxi's hand, paining the girl. Immediately afterwards, Su Xing slightly exerted force, which sent the sublime water sword flying away. Qingxi lightly bit her lip, her left palm shoving out. How could she have foreseen that Su Xing seemed to have already knew she would? One hand was already laying in wait along the path of her left palm. By the time the girl extended her palm, he immediately seized her wrist, and then he pulled. Qingxi immediately lost her sense of balance. Her body uncontrollably toppled forwards. Su Xing's other hand nevertheless passed around the girl's waist. With this pull and hold, they seemed to dance a waltz. 7. Qingxi's attack stance not only was completely undone, she seemed like a meek lamb tumbling onto Su Xing's chest. Any more fighting, and Buddha will be angry. Su Xing towered above her. This was even the first time the cool-headed Qingxi had been embraced by a man. Her cheeks were pink, and though she wanted to break free, her hands had been forced behind her. Feeling this man's strength, slight confusion suddenly appeared in Qingxi's heart. She softly whispered, "Your servant concedes defeat." "Little sister, do you still address yourself as your servant?" Su Xing smiled. "Is it possible to first release your sire, Qingxi?" Qingxi raised red clouds. Only then did Su Xing notice their current posture was a bit ambiguous. The girl nevertheless let her body hang horizontal. This pose outlined the girl's perfect flowing curves. Her jade peak seemed about to swell out her clothes, her jacket collar half exposed, the slightest bit of her valley, 8, faintly visible. "I'm lacking in manners." Su Xing promptly let go. "I didn't hurt you, did I?" Su Xing asked out of concern. Young Lord Su Xing is even gentler than Qingxi imagined. Qingxi magnanimously smiled. Following a wave of her hand, the sublime water sword again returned to her hand. However, Qingxi is not accustomed to saying big brother. If young Lord Su Xing is not offended, Qingxi showed a troubled expression. "You're kidding, big brother and little sister are addresses, there is no need to mind." Su Xing waved his hand. "Does young Lord Su Xing think Qingxi will renege?" Qingxi's tone was gentle as water. "Qingxi shall address young Lord Su Xing as Lord Su." 9. Qingxi wonders if that is possible. Lord Su. Why did Su Xing feel this sounded very much like Lord Husband? "This is good." Su Xing chuckled. "Su Xing, you treat her too well." Sure, Yuan pouted. "You honor, you are jealous. Big brother certainly must love you honor dearly." And Suwen stifled a laugh. "This young lady merely feels this Qingxi is very scheming," Sure Yuan cried in justice. "You honor, it's all the same." Su Xing consoled. "Why does this young lady feel each of you are harboring evil plans?" Sure Yuan did not understand. For this sort of thing, not even clear explanations would work. Qingxi had organized her feelings. She said, "Lord Su, Qingxi wonders whether or not you have found the mystery." Hearing that, Lord Su, Qingxi still was somewhat unaccustomed. "Let's test the mystery." Su Xing was not too certain. Qingxi opened her gem-like eyes wide. At this time, she saw Su Xing grab a clump of yellow sand. Qingxi did not understand what Su Xing wanted to do and only saw Su Xing extend his hand. "Give me your hand." "Lord Su, what are you doing?" Qingxi showed vigilance. "Just believe in me." Hesitating a moment, Qingxi still took hold of Su Xing's extended hand. The moment they held hands, it immediately made Qingxi's star generals grit their teeth. Su Xing pulled Qingxi into his embrace. Qingxi's expression appeared natural and unrestrained, but privately, she still took considerable guard against the opposite sex. Her left hand covered her plump chest, and she used her right arm to stick to Su Xing's chest so as to avoid being taken advantage of. If this was not indeed for being at wit's end solving the 4th level of the 7-floor stupa pagoda, how would Qingxi followed along with this man's whims? Then what do we do next? Qingxi asked. Su Xing snapped his fingers. His divine intent controlled the surrounding yellow earth. Under conscious manipulation, the yellow earth rolled like a hurricane, increasingly voluminous. In the end, it seemed to have become an airtight barrier. Don't be afraid to get dirty, Su Xing warned. 10. Qingxi was blank. Just at this moment, those yellow sands and earth pounced towards the two with a boom. Countless sand grains and clumps of dirt endlessly drilled into their bodies. Even Qingxi's body could not help but shudder. Su Xing's arms held her tight, making the girl bury her head into his chest. Using his hands to cover the opening at her collar, when she felt Su Xing's good intentions, Qingxi's heart was moved. The yellow sand very quickly wrapped the two into a fence. Then, those grains of earth seemed to combust into burning flames upon their skin. The scorching pain made Qingxi's hands violently clench tightly. The Qingxi that had yet to understand what was happening only felt that her whole body seemed to be aflame, an unbearable pain. The girl nevertheless clenched her teeth, not uttering a sound. The pain gradually lessened, and Qingxi's burning consciousness slowly returned. At this time, her whole body already collapsed, half powerless, dripping wet with perspiration, limp upon Su Xing's chest, extremely castigated. What was that just now? Qingxi panted. Her body powerlessness was not able to care that her own sensitive chest was intimately touching the man. I surmise it was nirvana. Su Xing looked around at the surroundings. Nirvana? Qingxi rested for a moment. Recovering her body's strength, she left Su Xing's embrace, somewhat stunned to hear this word. Su Xing hinted to her. Qingxi looked. At this moment, that yellow earth, wind and sand had already become a lush plain, gently swaying with blowing wind. This is the 5th level of the 7-floor stupa pagoda. Buddha compared all living things to soil. For Lord Su to be able to think of such nirvana is truly exceptional. Qingxi slightly smiled. Qingxi was even brighter than he had imagined. Su Xing originally had wanted to explain, but it seemed that was actually unnecessary. That's because I honestly couldn't think of anything else. Su Xing acknowledged honestly. Excluding all possibilities is also a way. Qingxi looked thoughtfully at Su Xing. The 7-floor stupa pagoda's 5th level was another world compared to the 4th level, with green grasses like a cushion and a clear and boundless sky. Su Xing usually first thought of a Buddhist scripture, but in the end, he did not find anything and looked inquisitively at Qingxi. The latter appeared not the least bit aware. The two decided to first look around this place. This quiet atmosphere did not persist for too long. Upon an astral tool, a glint suddenly came from the horizon, vaguely with the sounds of clashing weapons. Su Xing and Qingxi looked at each other and immediately guided the astral tool to rush over there. Very quickly, they saw this sort of scene. They saw a prairie that extended 1,000 li, and they spotted 4 or 5 monks brandishing staffs, vajra parasols, eternal wheels of life, and other magic tools currently in a siege. Su Xing had originally thought these monks perhaps were doing something related to comprehending the mystery, but upon closer inspection, he was gravely mistaken. The one being sieged was unexpectedly a woman. That woman wore a Chan-style golden blouse, her long, rolled-up hair like waves. The woman was as indifferent as a statue of Buddha. She somersaulted around these monks, moving about unrestricted. Chan Xian, Su Xing and Qingxi nearly blurted at the same time. The two stared at each other, discerning each of their shocks. Lord Su also knows Chan Xian. Qingxi was very complex. I wouldn't say no. We had a brief connection, and I heard her speak of Chan technique. Su Xing affirmed. Qingxi did, too. Qingxi gracefully smiled, clearly an excuse. Su Xing did not pursue the issue further, leisurely nodding his head. Those are monks of the Vajra temple, what's the meaning of this? Su Xing wrinkled his brow slightly unhappily. For this many monks to surround one woman honestly was unreasonable. Let us go take a look. Before Qingxi had even finished speaking, Su Xing had already gone first. Star General that has deluded herself into obtaining the holy monk's supreme Chan technique, you know not the immensity of heaven and earth. Tactfully withdraw quickly, we shall let you go this once. A tall monk shouted. Chan Xian's eyes did not have anger, did not have resentment, nor did they have the least bit of interest in answering. The Vajra temple monks only felt they had received humiliation. They raised every sort of Buddhist weapon to strike, but Chan Xian's body techniques could be labeled as excellent and nimble. No matter how tightly they encircled her, she faced them with absolute calm. Two crescent moon staffs brought an astral wind in a left and right pincer attack. The woman yielded, deftly stepping onto the crescent moon spade, and then she fluttered like a butterfly. She nimbly dodged away. Watch these artifacts. The Vajra temple's monks saw that their attacks unexpectedly could not even touch the hem of Chan Xian's clothing, and fury rose from their hearts. Multicolored rays of light rose from alms bowls, lanterns, prayer beads, and every sort of power was displayed. These artifacts were controlled with divine intent. To dodge was not something body technique evasion could easily achieve. The artifacts were about to strike Chan Xian. Just at this moment, Chan Xian's beautiful figure unleashed several afterimages and phantoms that were indistinguishable from the real one. Unexpectedly, they were identical. The artifacts struck air, and graveness flashed through the eyes of the Vajra temple's monks. Just as they were about to use some trick, suddenly, 5 bolts of purple dragon serpent lightning dropped from the sky, destroying these 5 artifacts completely. The divine intents of the monks hurt. They yelled, lifting their heads and spotting a man and woman flying over. The man flicked his fingers, and purple arcs of lightning immediately jumped out. The monks promptly erected every sort of defensive measure to protect themselves, but even so, the purple lightning striking their bodies still made them suffer nearly into vomiting blood. Could it be you monks aren't men? To bully one woman, don't you feel like you've lost face? The newcomer naturally was Su Xing. Su Xing looked down on them. Qingxi's tone also had a rare iciness. Great masters are angry, do you still have any qualification to hear the Chan technique? Qingxi advises great masters to quickly set down your blades, turn your heads and see the shore. These monks were immediately very unsightly when they spotted Su Xing and Qingxi. The two had cultivations of galaxy late stage and supercluster early stage that could firmly suppress them. This is Buddhism's affair, it does not concern you Azure Dragon Territory cultivators. If you wish to hear Chan technique, do not mind our business. The monks of the Vajra temple shouted. Buddhism also has different types. Qingxi smiled. Different types? Little sister, you make it sound so pleasant, I feel that they are scum. Su Xing sneered. His figure flashed, descending in front of Chan Xian, and Qingxi followed after. Chan Xian, it seems we truly have a connection. Su Xing turned his head and smiled. Chan Xian's eyes were still quietly deep beyond compare. Faced with Su Xing's teasing, she did not reply. She merely glanced at Qingxi, as if she was somewhat bewildered at Su Xing's address for Qingxi. Be a bit more tactful and leave this place. Otherwise, your servant will be very happy to make you go see Buddha Western Paradise. Su Xing threatened back. This woman is a star general. How can we allow Buddhism's grand Chan techniques be profaned by Maiden Mountain's star generals? The monks angrily said. Maiden Mountain's reputation in the Buddha kingdom was not at all good. It was difficult to say that the reason was not jealousy. After all, Maiden Mountain only used 1,000 years' time and already shook all 4 territories of Liangshan continent, yet Buddhism's 3,000 Buddhist sects nevertheless could only withdraw to the Azure Dragon territory's most western corner. For the Buddha kingdom's people that worshipped Buddha West approaches, it was understandable that somewhat extreme Buddhist cultivators would not be fond of star generals contesting for Chan technique. Has all your cultivation of Buddhism been without conscience? Buddhists all say that all living things are Buddhas, that it is whoever that listens that has distinction. I feel you basically are inherently guilty in conscience, know that you yourselves will never surpass her. Su Xing said. The faces of the Vajralaw temple's monks were ashen. How could the great path of Buddhism tolerate the gesticulations of cultivators like you? Su Xing laughed. Did your servant's words hit a sore spot? Senior brother, he seems to be the man that spat at Buddha. A monk shouted. What? So it was a hoodlum like you that incited such a quarrel. The other monks were angry, and they pounced over. You overestimate yourselves. Su Xing waved his hand in passing. Auspicious purple clouds soared into the heavens. Purple Cloud True Star was far sharper than those blades, breaking apart all of the monks' weapons. The protective Vajra Buddhist lights around their bodies blocked it with difficulty. You must not break the vow of no killing. Chan Exine spoke in obstruction. If someone kills you, and you still espouse virtue, this is not Chan logic, that is bringing trouble upon yourself. Su Xing snorted disdainfully. His words made Shi Yuan and the rest chortle. It was a pity the others could not hear them. Chan Xian's deep tranquility showed slight astonishment. Qingxi's eyes had a strange glint. She watched Su Xing's expression with even more wariness and vigilance. Then not only do you bring trouble upon yourself, you also make yourself feel good about bringing about your own doom. Su Xing supplemented. The 5 monks had been battered, bruised and bloodied by the purple cloud. However, they were worthy of being Buddhist cultivators. Even so, that tall monk still pointed in disbelief at Su Xing. You unexpectedly dare to disgrace Buddha. Su Xing laughed aloud. You're all still wet behind the ears at best, to unexpectedly dare compare me to Buddha. I feel you are the ones disgracing Buddha. Ha, ha, Su Xing will make Buddha blow his top. Shi Yuan thought this was very funny. The monks still were angry enough to nearly spit blood. Qingxi and Chan Xian were completely silent. What a glib-tongued man. A rolling thunderclap sounded in the sky. A yellow-robed monk rolled over, riding upon a yellow cloud. He shouted, and the airflow shook every which way. A massive Buddha's palm imprint bore down upon Su Xing. Su Xing immediately used the heaven-suppressing stillness hand. The Buddhist palm and the purple chi hand struck each other in the air, giving rise to an ear-piercing noise. Purple clouds rolled, and the Buddha's palm shattered the heaven-suppressing stillness hand. Su Xing's chest sunk in. Blood rolled about, and immediately, he was forced back half a step. This monk's power was very strong. Amitba, Sadhu, Sadhu. The yellow-robed monk descended the cloud, putting his hands together in prayer, using this to intimidate them. Great Master Jin Cheng. 2. The Vajra temple monks were immediately delighted seeing him, and they promptly saluted. He was supercluster middle stage cultivation. Su Xing chuckled. That Buddha's palm just now was indeed powerful. The purple cloud True Star unexpectedly was completely helpless. Poor monk heard there was a star general that wished to profane the dharma of holy monk for noble truths, so poor monk immediately rushed over. Great Master Jin Cheng's face wore a slight smile as he stared at Su Xing, never expected to hear this benefactor is also irreverent of Buddha. Not everything is a Buddha. It's all the same when you are selfish. Su Xing shook his head. Lord Su, are you injured? Qingxi was taken aback. A little cut. Su Xing wiped away the streak of blood at the corner of his mouth. Poor monk advises benefactors to quickly return to the Azure Dragon territory. Holy monk for noble truths is the supreme monk of our Buddhism. When Emperor Liang originally could not successfully obtain audience with him, could it be that benefactors feel they are more powerful than Emperor Liang? Return. With such an interesting mouth here, your servant still has not seen enough. Su Xing smiled. Qingxi covered her mouth. This man's mouth honestly was unforgiving. Great Master Jin Cheng's benevolent appearance was not immune from Su Xing's repeated mockery. As they say, Buddha still has fire. Great Master, this man basically does not put Buddha in his eyes. Again and again, he disgraces our Buddhism, honestly we cannot pardon him. The tall monk endured the injuries of his whole body, enraged. But of course I wouldn't put Buddha in my eyes. Su Xing nodded. Before that monk could be proud of himself, Su Xing's next sentence made him fly into a rage. Buddha is to be used for veneration in the mind. I feel you merely use Buddha's name as a signboard to usurp his reputation. You. At this moment, Qingxi could not resist giggling. The girl was suffering unbearably to not laugh aloud. Speaking further is not good. Today, allow poor monk to ferry you. Great Master Jin Cheng was absolutely calm. Su Xing had just thought of saying thanks, when suddenly, the always aloof Chan Xian blocked in front of him. This matter is because of me. These consequences will thus be assumed by me. Benefactor understands now, it is not too late. Great Master Jin Cheng's face was content. He was fully self-confident he could face off against these three people, however, if he could, to convince them to leave on their own was a meritorious achievement. What Benefactor Su Xing said was correct. You merely are cheats that usurp Buddha's good name. Honestly, you are the ones that shame Buddhism. Chan Xian's tone suddenly was dramatically changed. Great Master Jin Cheng and the other monks were stunned. Winds suddenly blew. Chan Xian already brandished a fist at them. Great Master Jin Cheng coldly shouted, just allow poor monk's dispassionate Vajrapam to experience the ability of the legendary Star General. That booming sound was ear-piercing. Time just passed in a flash. Great Master Jin Cheng's Vajrapam caught Chan Xian's fist. This supercluster middle stage Great Master had yet to shout a few words when suddenly, he only felt the powerful strength of the Vajrapam abruptly ebb. Immediately afterwards came the sound of the bones in his palm shattering. Great Master Jin Cheng violently spat blood. A powerful force directly crushed him, and his body was sent flying heavily away. Great Master Jin Cheng's whole body shuddered. He wanted to climb up. That face brimmed with terror, both his eyes seemingly about to pop out of his head from fear. He looked inconceivably at the tranquilly light as wind and clouds Chan Xian. His lips trembled, speaking not very nimbly at all. You are, heavenly, solitary, star, the Great Master Jin Cheng finally toppled onto the ground. With only a punch. Recollect the past 1,000 flowers 7 treasures platform, 1 flower, 1 leaf, 1 Tathagata. Unaware of Buddhist flowers of the past few days, they seemingly could shake the magic thunder of those days. The thousands of leaves of the large lotuses lay strewn across the 1,000 li of a blue plain, continuous into the thousands of li beyond. Each of the giant lotus blue leaves were replete, emitting a Buddhist aura. Even the Arhatha of the Dharma Buddha Jili, too, would not help but chant upon seeing this. To be able to see with his own eyes the legendary, 1,000 leaves lotus flower measureless world was exciting for even a 6th ancestor. Even Buddha Jili has said, the Buddhist's immemorial 7-floor stupa pagoda is honestly endlessly marvelous. A voice came from the side. A hardy and reserved monk calmly walked over. Great Master still void. 3. Arhatha was immediately deferential when he saw this old monk, stowing away his contempt. The Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestor great sects altogether were the Void Mountain Secret Kshetra, Dharma Sect, Sangharama Temple, 5, Mirror Flower Nunnery, 6, Happiness Together Courtyard, and the Stupa Saber Fast. 7. Arhatha was proud because of his supervoid middle stage cultivation, being among the chiefs of the 6 ancestors. However, there was one above him, and that was the Void Mountain Secret etc. This Buddhist sect was extremely mysterious, and the cultivation of the secret kshetras presiding Great Master Still Void also had reached supercluster middle stage. Although they were of the same cultivation, Great Master Still Void cultivated the mysterious, Nirvana Jewel Will 10,000 Lives Sutra. 8. Even Aratha felt pressured. Great Master Still Void has also come. The expression of the Dharma Sex Aratha was somewhat complex. Great Master Still Void slightly smiled and nodded. For this holy monk's passing of teachings, how could poor monk miss this? Meaning, if Great Master is able to obtain the holy monk's true teachings, perhaps you can break through those fetters and enter Supervoid late stage, henceforth birthing yet another holy monk inside Buddha Kingdom. Aratha seemingly smiled, unknown whether or not that was mockery. Great Master Still Void was silent. Does Senior Monk Aratha not also have the opportunity to obtain the Great Way? Another old monk, dressed in a blue kasaya appeared. So it is Chan Master Jia Yi of the Samgarama Temple, salutations. The Buddhists greeted. Salutations. Chan Master Jia Yi nodded. These words are not false. For the holy monk to pass on his teachings, any one of us Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestors can expand the influence of the Buddha Kingdom upon obtaining this supreme Chan technique. The holy monk also has the 5 dragons colored glass lamp. From then on, it would not be strange for the Buddha Kingdom to possess a transforming star of annihilation 6 ancestor. Aratha said. No truer words spoken, so this thing certainly cannot be given to outsiders. Aratha's words indicated. Poor monk has just found out that Great Master Jin Ching of the Vajra Temple has gone to kill a star general. Poor monk wonders if Senior Monk Aratha knows this. The Vajra Temple has always blindly followed your sect. Could it be because of this reason? Chan Master Jia Yi asked. For star generals to come pilfer the holy monk's Chan technique, does Chan Master feel this should be expected? Aratha laughed aloud. The one who came is but that heavenly solitary star. This legendary star general perhaps honestly will obtain the holy monk's bowl and robe, the so-called unprecedented. How can this sort of matter occur? Great Master Still Void, what do you say? Amitba, everything follows karma. For some monks to protect the holy monk's robe and bowl, Senior Monk can understand. Is this all right? Hearing Great Master Still Void so sly and evasive, Jia Yi smiled and asked back, any way it is put, there was a heavenly solitary star Lu Jishan in one generation signed a contract with the Void Mountain Secret etc. to participate in the star duels. This matter was the foolishness of the secret etc. Monks ought to take the world as an illusion. The mundane star duels actually are in violation of the orders of Void Mountain Secret etc. The previous masters do not recognize this. Seeing that the leading Great Master Still Void clearly was somewhat fearful and unfavorable towards star generals, Chan Master Jia Yi said no more. Aratha was somewhat happy, smiling and saying, precisely, Great Master Still Void is bright, everything follows karma. Besides the Mirror Flower Nunnery's Abyss Water Moon and the Stupa Saber Fast Stupa, 9, and Senior Monk Extreme Happiness being absent, we otherwise could have simultaneously congregated at this time. Aratha thoughtfully said. Especially that Stupa, he definitely is very expectant of the star general. They are also within the 7th floor Stupa Pagoda. Perhaps they have already reached the 6th floor. Then everyone must not delay. One punch. Just one punch. The supercluster stage cultivator no longer could stand. The monks of the Vajra Temple were completely dumbfounded, scared into fleeing out of their minds. Su Xing was also slightly surprised. Immediately, he could not resist flipping out the birth treasure outline for a look. Star position, solitary star name, Lu Jishan nickname, flowery monk true name. Rank, 13th star weapon, Devil's Sealing Crescent Moon Chan, 10, 3 star, Star Beast, Withering Thriving Lotus Flower Beast, 11, Realm, Matchless 7th stage Innate Skill, Meditative Mind / Monster Strength 5 Elements, Earth Yellow Rank Special Move, Arhat Boxing / Crescent Moon Spade, 12, Dark Rank Special Move, Heavenly King's Devil Sealing Chan Technique, 13, Current Status, Null Detailed Materials. Not outside of expectations, she truly was the 13th ranked Heavenly Solitary Star Flowery Monk Hua Jishan, her matchless 9th stage, 14, not comparable to Wu Xiao's or Lin Yingmei's, but both innate skills were particularly eye-catching. Does she not have a true name? Su Xing curiously exclaimed. It was reasonable to say that if a star general self-disclosed their true name, only then would the true name appear in the birth treasure outline, but Lu Jishan self-addressed as Chan Xian. However, the birth treasure outline did not reveal anything like this. That Chan Xian was not at all a true name. Great Master Jin Qing very quickly disappeared from the 7th-floor stupa pagoda. Clearly, he had already left this pagoda, and Su Xing did not have interest in minding about the rest. Without asking, he sized up this solitary star flowery monk. A pity that Yingmei and Xiao were not here. Poor nun has implicated benefactor. Solitary star Chan Xian put her palms together. No matter, no matter. If you can understand, then I'll be very gratified. Su Xing smiled. Never expected the monks of this place to tear up their face, to be so afraid of little sister Chan Xian. Qingxi's brows tightly furrowed, appearing like she had fought for Chan Xian on the behalf of justice. Chan Xian completely lacked any ripples. This is something Chan Xian ought to face. The solitary star's attitude actually appeared very good, not placing any of what happened in her eyes. Qingxi shook her head, nevertheless not recognizing this. Little sister Chan Xian does not know, but the Vajra temple is one part of the Buddha kingdom's Dharma sect. Their actions possibly are at the direction of the Aritha of the Dharma sect. These ancestors fear little sister's identity will seize the holy monk's robe and bowl, fearing you will make things much more difficult. Perhaps the Buddha kingdom's other 6 ancestors do not necessarily recognize this. This 7th-floor stupa pagoda appears more and more dangerous. Does little sister Chan Xian still wish to go? Chan Xing's calm eyes already were her reply. Qingxi has overthought. Lord Su, since you two know each other, shall the 3 of us travel together, how about it? Qingxi's eyes emitted a faint light. The gentle expression she showed Su Xing made Su Xing blank for a few seconds. Vixen. Sure, Yuan inwardly tooted. Since we have connection to meet once again, let's go together. Su Xing did not decline. The heavenly solitary star flowery monk. Legend said she was a star general that could blossom the meditative mind lotus flower. Before he met her, Su Xing still had considerable interest, but seeing Chan Xian's resolute eyes, he knew a contract was perhaps an unattainable thing. She truly was completely focused on pursuing the meditative mind. However, Su Xing did not wish to give up. His thinking was no different from the beauties inside the star nest. If he honestly could not obtain the 5 dragons colored glass lamp, at the very least, the heavenly solitary star was an opportunity. The 3 of them swiftly flew. Practically from the start of the Stupa Pagoda's 4th level, the Stupa Pagoda's myriad void worlds already merged together with one another. Su Xing now was considerably longing for Wu Xiao. He wondered there the harm star pilgrim had gone to at this moment. Right, Chan Xian, do you know what Buddhist mystery this 5th-floor Stupa Pagoda has? Su Xing asked her. Chan Xian pointed her finger at something far away. Raising his head to look, on the horizon was seemingly a gigantic lotus flower hidden in the mist, even faintly discernible. This is, Su Xing choked. A world in a flower. Qingxi softly said. The sparks of clashing metal flew about. Figures disengaged. There was a monk with an exposed chest and a shaven head. The muscles of his whole body bulged, and seeing his glaring vajra, a fierce and vicious stance, his whole body was baleful. Upon first glance, he seemed like a butcher, but if it was said his identity was Buddhism's 6 ancestor Stupa Saber Fast Stupa, perhaps no one would believe it. Stupa Saber Fast was Buddha Kingdom's great sect. The Dharma cultivated within its doors was particularly different, and its meditation, contemplation, comprehension, unempty and formless, their Buddhist secrets completely defeated their purpose. What the Stupa saber fast cultivated, astonishingly, was slaughter saber technique. No mistake, saber technique. Buddha says, lay down the butcher's knife, become Buddha on the spot. But this Stupa saber fast contrarily ran in the opposite direction. Although Buddha had said butcher's knife, that really did not mean a butcher's knife. Rather, it was every delusion and attachment, but the Stupa saber fast cultivated delusions and attachment, breaking through from the extreme. Buddhism was myriad different sects, each claiming attainment of nirvana. The cause always was not important, what was important was the consequence. The Stupa saber fast actually was determined to not fall short. The Stupa saber rose above the others in Buddha kingdom, becoming specialized in killing, attachment, delusion and developing a set of Stupa saber techniques. Among Liangshan continent's sword cultivators, the Stupa saber fast was considered the Buddhism most willing to meditate on Chan. And this Stupa was their genius, the sole supercluster late stage of the Buddha kingdom's 6 ancestors, yet he could obtain his 6 ancestor position relying on his powerful saber technique. Never expected the renowned Wusong would unexpectedly desire that holy monk's Chan technique. Stupa's face had a scar. When he smiled, he very naturally brimmed with stubbornness. Battling with Stupa was not just anyone, but Wu Xio. The cool and elegant pilgrim's attitude was biting cold, not uttering a word. Very good, very good. Poor monk just happened to want to use Stupa's saber to ask for a lesson. Stupa's hands clenched 100-kilogram épée. 16, although he did not initiate, the presence the épée emitted penetrated into bone. In Stupa's surroundings, the fresh grass was torn to shreds by his ferocious aggression. Wind tore at Wu Xio's eyes, but when it neared her, the wind immediately was incomparably gentle. Your servant also wishes to experience the Stupa saber technique of Buddhism, to see whether or not it can cut out your servant's anger. The pilgrim's tone was faint. She allowed the sword's wind to blow, swaying her clothes, while she remained indifferent. Watch this saber. Stupa's hands gripped his sword, and he leapt to slash. The épée slashed about, the sword chi being rolled into a severe hurricane that was thrown towards Wu Xio, covering the heavens and earth. Wu Xio's eyelashes drooped, faintly glancing at it. Wu Xio's finger instantly disappeared underneath the épée. Fortunately, Stupa had meditated on close-quarters sword techniques. His reactions were extremely swift, and the épée changed its attack direction to his side. Clang! A crisp sound. Noble Frost demonic lotus bit onto the épée. Lay down the butcher's knife, become Buddha on the spot. Stupa shouted. An intimidating might astonishingly met her. There was an enormous noise that shook the sky and earth, and the faraway 1,000-petal lotus flower shuddered, too. Killed her. Stupa sensed that there was already no more resistance under the épée. But immediately, his complexion suddenly changed. Not good. Sword light bit into his flesh, splattering blood. Stupa promptly used an escape technique to create distance. Wu Xio appeared from behind him, unscathed, the noble frost demonic lotus in her hand having just tasted the Buddha's blood. The harm star looked at the trails of blood on her double-ended sword and faintly said. Lay down the butcher's knife, become Buddha on the spot, these words ought to be given to great master. Lay down the butcher's knife, become Buddha on the spot, these words ought to be given to great master. Wu Xio lightly walked on top of the wind, the noble frost demonic lotus following its mistress' intent and releasing a bone-chilling icy jeer. A sort of indistinctly faint killing intent circulated about the harm star's body. Stupa actually drew in a breath, his 4 limbs ice-cold, as if he had fallen into an icehouse. So incredible. This was the legendary fiend star, the harm star Wusong. Stupa simply incredulous that he used the Stupa saber technique and was unexpectedly unable to even touch her side. Furthermore, the opponent appeared to have been holding back, not even brandishing her full power. A kind of powerless feeling of defeat made Stupa very sullen. Unreconciled. Deeply unreconciled. As a cultivator specially cultivating sword techniques, he had always boasted as being the highest. The Stupa Saber Fast had used the Stupa Saber technique to raise their reputation in the world, but unavoidably, they still were unavoidably compared to star generals, and the results need not be said, only endless mockery and disdain, as well as Stupa venting until he was nearly dead. Although they were recognized as a great sect of sword cultivators that were looked up at, Stupa dreamed of defeating a martial general, a genuine star maiden martial general. It was precisely because his heart had this not in existence, that Stupa began to be incapable of breaking through the supercluster late-stage bottleneck to enter the great realm of the cultivators, Supervoid realm. On this trip to the 7th-floor Stupa Pagoda, he had originally wished to borrow the holy monk's Chan technique, to undo the knot in his heart. He did not anticipate that a freak accident would land with an encounter with Wusong on the 5th floor. The pilgrim emitted from head to toe a sort of cool and elegant radiance that, with practically no consideration, could make all things in Liangshan continent understand her identity. Stupa also changed his aspiration. Compared to hearing that Chan technique, the Stupa Saber Fast was even more accustomed to comprehending the essence of the Stupa Saber and Buddhism's secret mysteries amidst endless sword fights. Ah! Stupa angrily shouted, turning incomparably frenzied. His épée was lifted like a piece of paper in his hand. The air in a range of several li was shattered. Do you wish to become Buddha? Allow your servant to help you. The gale blew, lifting Wuxiao's long hair. The woman's voice was unhurried, her wandering seemingly empty. Bang! Stupa Saber Technique, cut down obsessiveness. Stupa Saber Technique, cut down delusions. 2. Stupa Saber Technique, cut down evilness. 3. Stupa Saber Technique, cut down confusion. Cut, cut, cut. Stupa went wild, his Stupa Saber techniques every slash attack used in succession, each type of saber technique leaving people at a loss of what to do. It was precisely because of this unprecedented cut-down obsessiveness saber technique that even supercluster cultivators could be defeated by his hand. Wuxio was unusually indifferent enough to cause heartbreak. The pilgrim released, and the noble frost demonic lotus blossomed. A great expanse of black sword chi suddenly appeared, becoming black demonic lotuses that appeared from out of thin air around her body, simultaneously revolving, shooting in directions, carrying a terrifying energy. The air let out an intense whistle, and a black demonic lotus wind suddenly appeared in Stupa's surroundings. Under this wind's strong power, attempting to trap the wild animal. The Stupa Saber technique was completely broken to pieces, like a hot knife through butter. But this was no more than Wuxio's appetizer. Without need for any chit-chat, her eyes shot a cold light. In this instant, Wuxio's graceful figure thus apparently disappeared. Bang! Her sword tip closed in, easily cutting apart Stupa's frenzy. This girl's toe stepped, directly kicking open Stupa's chin, and the monk was flung far away. Unresigned. Stupa flipped his body up, massaging his fractured mandible, smiling with complete fear. Wusong, watch poor monk's Stupa Saber technique, evil sea is boundless. 5. Stupa's eyes were red, and his flesh split apart as he spat blood. In Wuxio's eyes, regardless of how malevolent this monk appeared, how terrifying, he only had a sort of pitiful bluff posture. The harm star pilgrim basically did not place him in her eyes. A supercluster late-stage cultivator honestly did not have the qualifications to act as her opponent in close-quarters combat. But this did not hinder Wuxio's desire to sweep him aside like the hindrance he was. The fewer the cultivators pursuing holy monk noble truths, the better, no? This is what you asked for. The girl's mocking brows rose. Her finger simultaneously rose. An ice-cold vortex suddenly appeared in the space between them. The temperature of the space plummeted, and the ice-cold whirlwind quickly enlarged, instantly slamming into Stupa's evil sea is boundless. The sword lights soundlessly combined. The world stifled as if it was about to stop. Wuxio's body astonishingly appeared, and a cold to the extreme determination shot from her body directly into Stupa's chest. The girl's black, flowing hair was rolled into a graceful flutter by the whirlwind, her eyes flickering with a leisurely luster. Stupa was worthy of being Buddha Kingdom's #1 sword-cultivating Buddha. His épée directly broke apart Wuxiao's attacking intent, instantly dodging. But at the same time the épée swept, Wuxiao floated like a butterfly in a hurricane, yet she lightly stepped onto his sword. Stupa flipped his sword, instantly cutting at the girl's neck. The girl's cloak fluttered, her body becoming a fluttering illusion. A bone-chilling sword tip suddenly split apart Stupa's neck. Blood soared into the sky. It was unknown when Wuxiao's black sword had already clamped onto Stupa's neck, yet it slashed down. Just as she was about to behead Stupa, Stupa did not seem to mind that much. His empty hand directly grabbed the 3-star destined weapon. Fortunately, Buddhism had always emphasized cultivating the physical body. Although the palm of his hand was about to rip apart, he barely stopped the noble frost demonic lotus from cutting further down. Seizing that brief instant, Stupa promptly brandished his épée. Even if he could not cut Wuxiao in two, it was also fine to repel her. A sneer. Wuxiao flipped, one leg directly stamping on Stupa's face, shattering several of his teeth, dodging the épée's sweep. At the same time she descended, she again swept out sword chi. Stupa suffered it directly, nearly dying. Wuxiao lightly descended, her sword tip sweeping aside that filthy blood. How was this possible? Stupa was incapable of believing the gap between them was so large. At this time, Stupa regretted pursuing sword techniques too much and not painstakingly cultivating magic weapons. The legendary star generals were without equal, and only magic weapons could secure an advantage. Will you leave yourself, or will you have your servants send you off? Wuxiao set down a notice to leave. Great Master Stupa, this senior monk has come to assist you. Suddenly at this moment, a gold and red Buddhist aura appeared in the sky. A golden net plunged towards Wuxiao, and on the golden net appeared celestial maidens in dance. 6. A scene of intermingling bliss. Even Wuxiao was taken aback for a half-second by that scene of debauchery in front of her. Wuxiao retreated, withdrawing several zhang. The golden net of dancing heavenly nymphs gave chase. Wuxiao knew with a glance that gold and red light was happiness Buddhist light. That harm star's face was covered in frost, her sword slashing. She tore this light to shreds. Just as Wuxiao was about to seize this chance to destroy that golden net, the opponent also did not dare delay, immediately withdrawing it. As expected of Wusong. Never thought that poor monk's heavenly nymphs lewdly mesmerize all things net. 7, was incapable of dealing with you. The newcomer was senior monk Extreme Happiness. At this moment, he put a sinister stare on Wuxiao. Great Master Stupa, are you alright? Senior monk Extreme Happiness chuckled. Poor monk feels that Great Master Stupa is having difficulty, and thus has specially come to render aid. Many thanks to senior monk. Stupa put his hands together. Great Master Stupa, this Wusong Star General is but Maiden Mountain's #1. You cannot be careless. Senior monk Extreme Happiness coldly grinned. Can Great Master Stupa still battle? Poor monk still can fight about. Stupa barely clung on. Wusong, you had better quickly leave this 7-floor Stupa pagoda. This is not a place you should have come to. Senior Extreme Happiness shouted. That you came is just perfect. Your servant shall help settle some inconveniences for Lord Husband. Wuxiao was very calm. What, Lord Husband? The legendary cool and elegant Harm Star, the overlord of the previous generation, Wusong surprisingly has a Lord Husband. If this got out, it truly would be a joke. Senior monk Extreme Happiness laughed aloud. Poor monks, heavenly nymphs lewdly mesmerize all things net, had yet to use full power just now. In a moment, Wusong shall know its power. If you still persist in the wrong ways, poor monk will take your primordial een. 8. On the basis of your words, today, even Buddha will not be able to save you. Wuxiao's tone was full of concentrated killing intent. The one to emerge the victor shall be the result. The tiny star general dares to be savage. Senior monk Extreme Happiness shouted, his hands forming a seal. The heavenly nymph Lewdly mesmerizes all things net and a prayer bead simultaneously flew out. As expected, Happiness Chan light enveloped the words. Hundreds of naked heavenly nymphs made every sort of obscene pose and expression. So long as a person was only slightly not uprighteous of mind, they would be captivated by the lewd fantasy of those heavenly nymphs. That prayer bead was the magic weapon Senior Extreme Happiness was proud of, named the Extreme Happiness Bead. This bead emitting lasciviousness whirled around Wu Xiao's surroundings, forming an inescapable ceiling for bid dance. And just at this time, Stupa in tacit correspondence waved his épée towards Wu Xiao. The Stupa saber technique reached its peak, become Buddha on the spot. Wu Xiao leaned, tightly clenching her double-ended sword, not fearful at all. Just at this moment, endless mist-like green light surged forth just like a river, washing everything away. A spring breeze blew by, and immediately, those obscene illusions were successively destroyed by this clear light. Losing the suppression of the heavenly nymph phantoms, Stupa's expression greatly changed as he immediately halted his attack. Senior monk Extreme Happiness was greatly startled, for his own life-cast magic weapon was unexpectedly broken. To think of bullying my wife, you monks must want to die without any corpse left, right? A man's chilly voice dropped from the heavens. Hearing this voice, Wu Xiao immediately put down her guard, an odd warmth flashing across her heart. The newcomer was precisely Su Xing. Wife, have these two monks been bullying you? Su Xing seriously asked. Lord husband need not worry. Wu Xiao cast him a sidelong glance. What? You are the harm star's lord husband. Senior monk Extreme Happiness and Stupa were shocked. If you're done being surprised, go see Buddha. Su Xing's figure suddenly flashed by, his speed unexpectedly even quicker. Stupa completely had no strength to resist and was stuck in the stomach by a punch, his internal organs turned back to front. Senior monk Extreme Happiness once again used the magic weapon, heavenly nymph Lewdly mesmerizes all things net. This magic weapon was indeed powerful. The Happiness Chan light filling the skies was unstoppable, but Su Xing only easily waved the miraculous Bodhi tree. That limitless clear light was like a drizzle. His magic weapon's obscene debauchery was immediately left with no place to hide. The miraculous Bodhi tree. Senior monk Extreme Happiness screamed. Su Xing sneered. A world in a flower. The miraculous Bodhi tree. Impossible, why would you have such a thing? Senior monk Extreme Happiness shouted in shock. His eyes had both hatred and the glint of zealous envy. Su Xing actually did not feel he was surprised. The Bodhi originally was Buddhism's holy tree. Prehistoric spirit treasures forged from materials like this naturally were what Buddhists loved the most. However, how would Su Xing have the inclination to chat with them? Immediately, he called forth Heaven Tearing and Langya. The 24 flying swords intersected, making Senior monk Extreme Happiness tremble with fear upon seeing it. Although Buddhist cultivators often trained their physical bodies and were bright with Dharma, the reason they could only hole up in the far western corner of the Azure Dragon territory naturally had a logic. Buddhist cultivators cultivated Saraira as their life-cast items, not flying swords. In terms of abilities, this was a massive detriment. Originally, Ancestor Extreme Clarity had used Galaxy Late Stage and could contend against Wu Xiao, Lin Yingmei, and other great star generals other than using the miraculous Bodhi tree because he still had flying sword abilities as an asset. Compared to the Azure Dragon territory's cultivators, those stupa of the Buddhist cultivators was known as a Buddha that cultivated the sword. If he truly was pit against a star general, he was practically overwhelmingly weak. When Senior monk Extreme Happiness saw that Su Xing raised the powerful flying swords and even had the miraculous Bodhi tree in hand, he immediately had the urge to flee. Then, this urge immediately became action. Senior monk Extreme Happiness threw out the heavenly nymphs Lewdly mesmerize all things net. He no longer wanted this life-cast magic weapon, and he only hoped it could obstruct the two. He appeared very clear that to face Wu Xiao and her lord husband, fleeing was a very difficult matter. His abandonment was wise. The heavenly nymph Lewdly Mesmerize's net and the two colors of gold and red flashed. Immediately afterwards, they became threads, interweaving along all sides into a giant net that dropped down. Hundreds of perhaps naked, perhaps thinly clad beautiful girls like fairies emerged, each stroking their hair coquettishly, making charming dances. Their jade thighs spread open, their jade butts stuck high up, and they all were in wonderfully varied and myriad seductive poses. Those girls outwardly appeared to refuse, yet they clearly had desire. Their eyes had a roaming gleam, and their mouths also emitted a faint, rippling yin voice. Entering the sea of consciousness, anyone else would be dry of mouth and tongue, their eyes scarlet, the yang fire of their dantian inflamed with passion. This was the first time Su Xing had seen such a bizarre magic weapon. For a moment, he was shocked, and the girls inside his sea of consciousness blushed even more. Su Xing immediately seized the miraculous Bodhi tree and swiped several times. The heavenly nymph Lewdly Mesmerize's net's charmlight successively was washed away and became ordinary red and golden threads. When Su Xing saw, he once again used the weapon disarming scroll, taking these threads in. However, at this time, Senior Monk Extreme Happiness had already escaped far away, with pursuit impossible. Thinking to himself this was somewhat of a pity, Su Xing again directed his gaze to the other Buddha of Buddha Kingdom, Stupa. Stupa's épée was sent flying by Wu Xiao, the double-ended sword directly pressed against his neck. If you dare kill me, Buddha Kingdom's Stupa saber fast definitely will be unable to coexist. Buddha Kingdom's millions of citizens definitely will become enemies with you, Stupa shouted. Death was near at hand, and still, he would die without repent. Su Xing had a face of, how long has an idiot like you been worshipped every day to have broken your brain? Who do you think are, to be worthy of Buddha Kingdom shedding tears for you? I feel that once you die, the disciple of your sect that will obtain your leadership role would be happy first. Judging by your appearance, you normally do a lot of bad things. Ha, killing you is perfect for delivering justice on behalf of heaven. Don't make too much noise. Su Xing, you're so mean. Sure Yuan laughed hard enough for tears to nearly roll out. Stupa's complexion changed. Clearly, what Su Xing said honestly was possible. Lord Su, what is the meaning of this? Qingxi and Chan Xian urging on an astral tool soon arrived, stunned on sight by the scene before them. Lord Su, Wu Xiao's brows wrinkled, and her eyes slightly narrowed, coldly glaring at Su Xing. Wifey, you misunderstand. This is little sister Qingxi. Su Xing explained. Wu Xiao harumphed, looking at Qingxi with complete distaste. When Qingxi saw Wu Xiao, her eyes let out a shocked glint, this oddity very quickly disappearing and recovering her cool. Just what is happening? Chan Xian asked. Nothing at all, these two monks lost their minds and wanted to kill my wifey, N. Su Xing stared ice-cold at Stupa, his lips curling into a cold grin. However, it's a pity his skill isn't as good. The flying swords began to stir, just about to slash for the kill. Do not kill me. Poor monk can inform you of one of the miraculous Bodhi tree's secrets. Stupa's face was pale, no longer with his might from just now, promptly pleading for mercy. What secrets does the miraculous Bodhi tree have? Su Xing stopped the flying swords. It is better for benefactor alone to hear this. Stupa looked at Wu Xiao and the others. This is my wife, this is my little sister, this is my friend. If you have something to say, say it quickly. Su Xing coldly said. I have no patience whatsoever for people like you who assail my wife. Fine, fine, fine. How did you come about your miraculous Bodhi tree? Seeing Su Xing's eyes were increasingly gloomy, Stupa immediately said, the 5 dragons colored glass lamp is refined from prehistoric materials, but it nevertheless lacks something similar to act as the lampwick. This miraculous Bodhi tree is precisely that lampwick. If you light it, you can accomplish the supreme Buddhism. It is said you can comprehend a prehistoric Chan technique. This was the first time Su Xing had heard of this news. Stupa acted as one of Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestors. These words still were somewhat believable. The miraculous Bodhi tree is the 5 dragons' lamp's lampwick. Su Xing looked at this fine branch in his hand and darkly wrinkled his brow. Yes, or so poor monk hears, but Bodhi still Buddhism's holy item. This bit is not false. Su Xing looked at the girls. It is not strange. Bodhi indeed is Buddhism's holy item. Qingxi said. However, what use is this news? The 5 dragons' colored glass lamp is not in my hands. Su Xing sneered. Benefactor Su Xing, it would be better to let him go. Chan Xian was disturbed, speaking, the heavens above have quite the virtue. Since he has already come to the realization, we ought to give him a chance. Lord Su, what little sister Chan Xian says is true. Since this stupa is Buddha Kingdom's 6th ancestor, regardless of what happens, killing him will only bring Lord Su trouble in Buddha Kingdom, making enemies for no reason. Qingxi analyzed. Su Xing once again looked at Wu Xiao. The harm star snorted. She stowed her sword and turned her gaze away. Stupa's heart relaxed. He looked at Su Xing, his expression appearing to be that of a yes man, his heart nevertheless secretly insidious. After leaving, he definitely would leave this man dead with no corpse left to avenge today's humiliation. Just as he thought this, suddenly, Stupa's neck felt cold. By the time he had returned to his senses, he only saw his own head leave his body. From his headless body, blood bubbled forth like a fountain. For a time, Stupa was stunned. My wife already said, today, even Buddha cannot save you. Su Xing sneered. Stupa's headless corpse tumbled to the ground, and thus, one of Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestors turned to dust like this. Wu Xiao was taken aback, her expression full of complexity as she looked at Su Xing. Qingxi and Chan Xian were stupefied, not expecting Su Xing would kill this Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestor after declaring so. Lord husband, you should not have acted. This sort of person ought to have been left to your servant. To stain Lord husband's hand, how will it do to be rebuked by the holy monk? Wu Xiao was somewhat pained. If that holy monk feels that your servant killing this kind of person is wrong, then he is gravely mistaken. Whether your servant does not respect this Buddha, or whether your servant does not listen to his dharma, both are fine. Su Xing interrupted. The girls instantly had nothing to say. Although this very minor incident made the atmosphere between them not as relaxed as before, with regards to the heavenly solitary star Lu Zhishan, every time Su Xing acted honestly was greatly outside her expectations. Undoubtedly, he went against Chan ideals, but each time, she could not utter even half a word. The tranquil Chan Xian did not know when she had become confused. Confused. Qingxi also pondered deeply. She looked at Su Xing and Wu Xiao's intimate posture and could not discern anything, unable to understand any of it. Actually, Wu Xiao's attitude was much better than it was previously, no longer bothering about from where Su Xing made a little sister Qingxi or a little sister Chan Xian. Stepping on the flying swords, her hand was clasped by Su Xing in front of the sister, and she was pulled up to him. That Chan Xian is the heavenly solitary star. Wu Xiao was very surprised to hear this name. Wu Xiao's attitude also improved a lot due to the heavenly solitary star. After all, among Maiden Mountain's 108 star generals, Harm star Wu Song, majestic star Lin Chong and solitary star Lu Zhishan had always got along very well. Their natures had the imprints of favorable impressions for each other, but meeting for the first time this heavenly solitary star flowery monk Lu Zhishan, Wu Xiao still was very surprised. Only upon hearing Wu Xiao's identity for the first time did Chan Xian's eyes flash a slightly pleasant surprise, but after seeing Su Xing, it immediately was extinguished. Apathetic, she honestly had a Chan aura that made even Wu Xiao slightly uncomfortable. I just killed one of Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestors, and I let that senior monk extreme happiness escape. If what Stupa said about the miraculous Bodhi tree is true, then I fear there will be big trouble. Su Xing inwardly said. Senior monk Extreme Happiness inevitably would take revenge, and the Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestors still had the other 4. Each were characters not so good to provoke, and among them was the chief, Chan Master Still Void, whose magic energy was limitless and formidable. Your servant actually has implicated Lord Husband. Wu Xiao wrinkled her brow and said. Between us, what is there to implicate? As for the 3, 4 other ancestors, I actually want to see what these self-proclaimed Buddhas of the Buddha Kingdom look like. Wu Xiao smiled. Suddenly, Su Xing turned his head towards Wu Xiao and drew near. He whispered, Wifey, we haven't been intimate for a long time. What? Wu Xiao's pupils shrunk. I'm saying ever since that time we faced Guansheng, we haven't kissed. What nonsense are you thinking of? Wu Xiao's tone was flustered, for even Lord Husband to turn into a simple you. Su Xing lamented. For such a cool and elegant beauty like Wu Xiao to be beside him calling out Lord Husband, no man could possibly remain aloof. Although Wu Xiao called Su Xing Lord Husband, she truly had not thought of such a thing before. That time she kissed him also was passion, unrestrainable emotion, the effect of the environment. For her to kiss him during normal times, Wu Xiao felt this practically was more terrifying than battle. It seems I still haven't done enough as your Lord Husband. Su Xing was helpless. Wu Xiao recalled Su Xing had protected her just now, and her heart softened. Tenderly, she said, what Lord Husband said is extremely true. Between Lord Husband, this is inevitable and right, however, now is the pivotal point for Lord Husband's meditative mind lotus seed. We absolutely cannot be distracted, to save little and lose much. How can I save little and lose much with my own wifey? Xiao, these words of yours aren't right. Su Xing retorted. Wu Xiao knew she could never get the last word in, thus she ignored him. In short, wait until after this. Your servant shall do as Lord Husband pleases. Those last words were squeezed out from between the gaps of her teeth with exceptional blushing and difficulty. Can I really do anything I want? Su Xing winked, letting his imagination run wild. Wu Xiao glared at him. How could she not know what filthy things this man was thinking of, and her ear burned. Su Xing laughed aloud, teasing her no longer. Liked it? Is this really the elder sister Wu Xiao who wanted to kill Su Xing on first sight? Shi Yuan asked in shock from inside the star nest. The thief star received a knowing laugh. No way, this young lady is falling farther and farther behind. Next time, this young lady definitely will eat Su Xing. Elder sister Suan, quickly help this young lady refine some pills. On a faraway hill, 2 people appeared. One was a woman dressed as a Buddhist nun, but her clothes were unable to conceal her body's curves. Beside her was also a man, however, he concealed his face, covered his hair, but from his attire, he clearly was an Azure Dragon territory cultivator. Their cultivations were unfathomable. The honestly exceptional stupa of the Buddha's 6 ancestors has unexpectedly been killed. This is the legendary star General Wusong. Formidable as expected. The Bhikshuni softly exclaimed, again gazing at the man beside her. The man's eyes were absolutely calm, appearing not too concerned. How can a star general be provoked? He has only himself to blame. She is truly brazen, unafraid of Buddhism's retaliation. Could it be that Abbess Water Moon will take revenge? The man smiled. The woman had a pious appearance of aloofness. How could the Mirror Flower Nunnery participate in the affairs of the Stupa Saber Fast? True, we had better first go to the next floor. The holy monk's propagation of Dharma appears to be very rowdy. The man faintly smiled. Looking at the spectacularly gigantic 1,000-leaf lotus flower before him, Su Xing was stupefied. How was this a flower? Clearly, it was a gigantic monster that had entrenched itself into the world. A world in a flower. Su Xing mumbled. The fifth floor of the seven-floor stupa pagoda, a world in a flower, was this level's mystery, but now, it appeared far from being that simple. Looking at those lotus flowers emitting Buddhist light, opening and closing, if a monk walked in, that lotus flower would immediately shut tight. At this time, Su Xing saw at least several hundred monks flying over from every direction. It seemed that after the fifth level, the seven-floor stupa pagoda's world's various celestial words already connected together. Monks arrived in succession and chatted around the thousand-petal lotus flower, endlessly shocked at this gigantic Buddhist flower. Buddha Kingdom has 3,000 Buddhist sects, yet this thousand-petal lotus flower has millions of worlds. It seems this sixth floor will not be passed through luck. Qingxi sighed. Each of this thousand-leaf lotus flower's petals should be the stepping stone to the next level, but among the countless paths, there were only 3,000 exits that could lead to the sixth floor. Furthermore, the moment one monk entered, the entrance to that lotus flower would immediately shut. The second person need not think of entering, which also meant that the stupa pagoda's sixth floor only had 3,000 people. And to see through this lotus flower's passageways, a person absolutely could not get by on luck that brought them through the previous floors. They were required to rely comprehension talents that had already superbly pondered profound Dharma cultivation. Also, they were to be pious to Buddha, for under Buddha's guidance could they enter the sixth floor. What this trial tested was precisely piety and the meditative mind that had accumulated over a long period of time. Difficult. As far as people like Su Xing who had entered Buddhism in this fashion, they need not think of being lucky again. Wifey, can you see the passageway? Su Xing asked. Wu Xiao concentrated for a moment. In the end, she shook her head. The thousand-petal lotus flower prajna world was Buddhism's supreme ability. Those lotus flowers successively opened and closed, and Wu Xiao could not discern any gaps. Chan Xen. Wu Xiao subconsciously gazed at the heavenly solitary star. As the heavenly solitary was the sole one among them that had comprehension of Buddhism, the flower monk was clearly the only one that could have a chance of success. Chan Xen pondered for a moment. I can sense several, but I cannot distinguish the real from fake. Big brother, don't you have the heart-like mirror soul technique? You can try it. And Suan reminded. Su Xing suddenly understood. How could he have forgotten this? Let me try. Su Xing said. You can discern them. Chan Xan was taken aback. Just a try. Su Xing smiled. He concentrated completely on operating the absolute sincerity soul technique. In Su Xing's eyes, the notion of that thousand-petal lotus flower totally disappeared. In the void, each lotus was a world, each emitting a unique light. Some were deep, others shallow, some were dim, others bright. Buddha said, a world in a flower, a bliss in a trunk of wood, a paradise in a blade of grass, a Tathagata in a leaf, an ecstasy in a grain of sand, a pure land in a place, a destiny in a smile, a tranquility in an idea. 2. This incantation still reverberated in Su Xing's mind. Slowly, the hearts-like mirror already broke free of the see mountains not as mountains realm and returned to the true see mountains as mountains realm. The thousand-leaf lotus flower began to manifest each of their own characteristics. Finally, Su Xing found several lotus flower worlds that led to the sixth floor. Found them. Su Xing breathed deeply, dispelling the soul technique. You truly found them? Chan Xan was not too convinced. However, each of these thousand-petal lotus flowers can only admit one person. I'll tell you the entrances, however, I can't be certain about their authenticity. If you believe me, then we can try. In short, I won't trick you. Su Xing said. Wu Xiao naturally did not object. Qingxi hesitated, then nodded. Chan Xan thought for a moment. Chan Xan will first see, then decide. Su Xing was not surprised the heavenly solitary star would decide like this. He pointed out several lotus flower entrances for them to see. When the heavenly solitary star saw they were the same as she had thought, she no longer hesitated. Then I shall take the first step. Chan Xian put her hands together. N. Chan Xian scuttled in. That lotus flower's Buddhist light expanded, sucking her in, and then it closed. Wu Xiao nodded at Su Xing, and she also entered one of the flowers. Lord Su truly has continued to make Qingxi pleasantly surprised. If Qingxi may be so bold as to ask, from which sect does Lord Su hail, whether it is Buddhism or Taoism, Lord Su seems highly competent. Even your flying swords are rare in the world. Qingxi smiled. I'll tell you when you become my wifey. Su Xing laughed. Qingxi perspired. This man had already recognized her as his little sister, yet he unexpectedly still could get a leg up on her. Qingxi entered another flower, and seeing them leave, Su Xing also did not hesitate. The Buddhist light sucked him in, and immediately, the spirit of his whole body seemingly was suddenly enveloped in a Buddhist aura. The noise of a hubbub transmitted up the avenue. The customers and cultivators inside the restaurant all successively rushed out, gazing in the direction of the 7 floors stupa pagoda. Then, they looked at the countless monks successively appearing in a flash. Again, so many people have been eliminated. There can't be too many left inside, right? I hear the 7 floors stupa pagoda honestly is a celestial world on each floor, endlessly profound. What a pity I could not see it with my own eyes. Several people discussed in succession. These trials are so formidable. If I could obtain the holy monk's Chan technique, I could die without regret. A Buddhist said. You idiot, do not have such grand dreams. Could it be you did not know that even Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestors have gone? How can these Chan technique be comprehended by us? Another person chided. Exactly. Just as this was said, suddenly a sort of Buddhist voice of bereavement sounded out. A sea of people became frantic, fearfully crying out. Everyone was affected by this mournful sound. He has died, the great master has died. There was a furious and sorrowful moan reverberating everywhere. What is happening? Lin Yingmei sat on the floor above, furrowing her brow as she gazed at the chaotic crowd. This Buddhist voice truly was very loathsome, merely noise inside her ear. Lin Yingmei activated star magic to block it out. Wu Xinjie used wind from empty cave. A moment later, she showed shock. Elder sister, what has happened? Lin Yingmei curiously asked. It seems that the Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestor stupa of the stupa saber fast has died inside the 7 floor stupa pagoda. Has a Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestor died? Lin Yingmei's face was unperturbed. And, the corpse has already emerged, and his death was wretched. Wu Xinjie covered her mouth, restraining a smile. However, this stupa was not very impressive in Buddha Kingdom. His cultivation was the inharmonious stupa saber dharma. There are complaints everywhere, and it seems many are secretly cheering. That Buddhist voice just now. That was transmitted by the stupa saber fast's elder. It seems he is administering religious rites for stupa. Wu Xinjie's wind from empty cave truly was convenient. In no more than the blink of an eye, she had become clear on the entire sequence of events. At this time, Wu Xinjie's mind was full of the angry roar of, who killed stupa? After all, he was one of Buddha Kingdom's publicly recognized 6 ancestors. Any way it was put, his death was a very big blow to the Buddha Kingdom. The other sects that were on very good terms with the stupa saber fast already began to join in a united front, but many sects took aim at the open 6 ancestor position left by stupa's death. The Buddha's 6 ancestors originated in Buddha Kingdom's famous Platform Sutra of 6th Patriarch, selecting the 6 ancestors from the Buddha Kingdom's 6 strongest cultivators, representing the glory of Buddha Kingdom. Now that one had died, naturally, that would make many Buddhist sects poke around. After all, sects that could become a 6 ancestor could ascend to the heavens in a single bound within Buddha Kingdom. Would a 7 floors stupa pagoda trial kill someone? Will something befall young master? Lin Yingmei's tone was slightly worried, not at all out of doubt in Su Xing's ability but purely because she was concerned about the one she loved. Perhaps the originator of this is young lord himself. Wu Xinjie's eyes rolled, stealing a smile. Ah! Lin Yingmei was stunned. Just now, I heard someone personally witness that the murderer who killed Stupa was a cultivator. An Azure Dragon Territory cultivator? Lin Yingmei whispered. Thinking of this, she realized that those from the Azure Dragon Territory that could participate in the 7th-floor Stupa Pagoda were not very many. Having gone on this long, many had been eliminated, and for those that had reached this step to also be able to kill a Buddha Kingdom's 6th ancestor, Su Xing indeed was the greatest possibility. It seems young lord is more vigorous than we thought. Wu Xinjie was indifferent to Stupa's death. Lin Yingmei gazed at that disorderly crowd. Your servant wonders how young lord is. Since he has already battled with a Buddha Kingdom's 6th ancestor, the situation inside must not be too hopeful. With Seo, they do not need to worry. Wu Xinjie pondered, however, we cannot sit idly in this place. Let us seize this chance to help young lord settle this minor convenience of Stupa. Wu Xinjie looked at those monks seemingly about to devour Su Xing, inwardly laughing with disdain. How shall we settle? Since Stupa has died, we had best go instigate the other sects, have them strive bloodily for this. Wu Xinjie said, we will take advantage of the fact that the other Buddha Kingdom's 6 ancestors have not returned. We will spread some rumors, make those sects have internal strife, doubt each other, and by the time the 7th-floor Stupa Pagoda finishes, the Stupa Saber Fast will become something impractical and inferior. Is this all that is needed? Lin Yingmei still was slightly not too convinced. Wu Xinjie waved her hand, facetiously smiling. Rumors always have a root cause. As the ancients say, wine does not come from an empty cave without reason. Yingmei, the degree of belief people have for rumors will surpass your imagination, so that is why we have that saying, rumors will only be stopped by the wise. Lin Yingmei nodded. So long as she could settle trouble for young master, be it rumor or violence, the majestic star would not hesitate in the slightest to do so. Passing through a world in a flower, Su Xing's legs stepped on air. The surrounding scene disappeared, and he landed on a rock suspended in midair. Su Xing looked around. As far as the eye could see, there were 3,000 stones floating about. Each stone clearly corresponded to an entrance from a world in a flower. The air of the 7th-floor Stupa Pagoda's 6th floor had ceased its flow. The sky was a heavy, dark cloud, as if it was about to smother him. Su Xing looked down and immediately drew in a breath. Below was a vast sea of evil. As far he could tell, it was limitless. Surprisingly, there was no border. He basically did not need to guess. Su Xing immediately knew what trial the 6th-floor celestial of the 7th-floor Stupa Pagoda was related to. The Sea of Bitterness. Buddhism's most famous concept of worldly suffering. The Sea of Bitterness is boundless, yet a turn of the head is the other shore. Even a person who completely did not understand Buddhism had heard of this phrase. Lord Su. A gentle voice called. Su Xing glanced out the corner of his eye. He spotted that a blue-clothed woman had already appeared on a rock nearby. It was no one else but Qingxi. Then, Wu Xiao and Chan Xian successively walked out of rocks in a range of 100 meters, and even further away, the high monks of the Buddha Kingdom sects appeared in succession. Already, half of the 3,000 paths had appeared. Suddenly, at this moment, they heard a frenetic voice. He spotted a senior monk attempt to use a tool to fly past the Sea of Bitterness. Who would have thought that the moment his foot left the stone, his figure immediately would plunge down, falling into the Sea of Bitterness. Others had wanted to do the same, but they also likewise disappeared. Su Xing wrinkled his brow and tested something. As expected, he had only just left the stone when a formless force pushed against his whole body, pressuring him down towards the Sea of Bitterness. It seemed this checkpoint required passing this Sea of Bitterness. Wu Xiao, Qingxi, and Chan Xian gathered around Su Xing unwittingly. The 3 women had already treated Su Xing as their backbone. This is the Buddha Kingdom's Sea of Bitterness. The 7th-floor stupa pagoda honestly is mysterious. Wu Xiao exclaimed. Is this checkpoint only to cross this sea of bitterness? Qingxi pondered. What is benefactor Su Xing doing? Chan Xian saw that Su Xing was endlessly turning his head around, confusing her. Oh, didn't Buddha often say the sea of bitterness is boundless, yet a turn of the head is the other shore? Su Xing replied as he turned his head, I'm testing whether or not this is the theory. The 3 women were speechless. In the end, Su Xing's neck was sore. This sea of bitterness did not have any signs of activity, nor could he see any indication of the 7th floor. It would be good if things were so simple. Qingxi smiled. Su Xing actually hoped for things to be a bit simpler, for example, like a world in a flower. It seems we can only cross this sea of bitterness. The sea of bitterness reached past their knees, which was not too deep. The color of the water was pitch black, complete with an indescribable heaviness. The other monks already entered the sea of bitterness and began to walk towards the other shore. Each monk chanted Dharma as they walked. Their heads emitted a Buddhist light, a state of solemnity. Compared to Su Xing's shamefulness, they had a manner of crossing a sea of bitterness. Slowly wading through the sea of bitterness, they walked seemingly for hours. Su Xing was unable to hold back his temper. Seeing Chan Shina had taken after the other monks and was similarly chanting Dharma as she traveled forth through the sea of bitterness, he curiously asked, Chan Xian, why are you dedicated to Dharma? I heard Xinjie say you won't even participate in the star duels. Is comprehending the meditative mind truly so important? Is this important? Chan Xian asked back. Su Xing paused, briefly unable to reply. Indeed, what he felt was important perhaps was not necessarily important in the eyes of others. How could others decide the so-called worthiness of something? Without the heavenly solitary star, the other sisters will rejoice. Qingxi softly said. Any way it was put, the heavenly solitary star was the most capable of the star duelists in the 7 stars assembly. Without this powerful foe, generally, this was a good thing. However, as far as those martial generals at the peak of power were concerned, they felt it was a pity to lack an opponent as powerful as the heavenly solitary star. Just as Chan Xian was about to speak, suddenly at this moment, the heavenly solitary star's eyes were dazzled, as if she had met with a lightning strike, nearly falling over. The Su Xing standing beside her supported her, startled. What is? Before the words could leave his mouth, at the same time, he abruptly felt a deathly pain sweep over his whole body. With a snap of the fingers, Su Xing only felt his own consciousness rapidly shrink. Then, the entire world completely disappeared. His consciousness had been compressed into a seed and was being squeezed by the sea of bitterness. A sort of completely powerless feeling immediately attacked his mind. Su Xing promptly used the heart-like mirror extreme sincerity soul technique. Fortunately, when he practiced the chaotic tail escape, he had already tasted the world's strongest pain, and with the assistance of the heart-like mirror, this seemingly unbearable pain lasted just several seconds. Su Xing promptly recovered his clarity. However, Chan Xian was not so quick. Her brows were tightly locked, her expression bitter, currently persevering with great effort. He saw that Wu Xiao and Qingxi were exactly the same. A long while after, they slowly broke free, taking deep breaths. Could this be the sea of bitterness side effect? Su Xing was curious. Just now, that may have been. Chan Xian wrinkled her brows, her sentence half finished. May have been what? Everyone was curious. Chan Xian calmly said, may have been 8 distresses. 8 distresses? Su Xing rubbed his temples, somewhat unclear. Wu Xiao then explained, birth, age, sickness, death, parting with what we love, meeting with what we hate, unattained aims, and the 5 skandhas, too, are the 8 distresses that Buddha spoke of. Wifey, can you explain clearly? Su Xing humbly asked for guidance. Buddhist philosophy was boundless as the sea. Although he had stepped into Buddhism temporarily, there was still much he completely was incapable of understanding. These 8 distresses that Buddha spoke of were the 8 types of painful consequences that all things received in samsara. Let alone that Buddhism was very famous even in Liangshan continent, everyone regardless of cultivator or normal citizen understood a little. For this reason, Wu Xinjie did not give Su Xing this supplementary knowledge. In actuality, according to the meaning of the text, it was very easy to understand. Birth was the pain of crying upon being born. Let alone that age, sickness, death, and parting with something loved were things each person would experience from youth to old age. Sickness and torment, the death of relatives and loved one were not far from this sort of hardship. Meeting with what was hated described people that complained about evils, who asked to be far away from those, yet gather on the contrary. The unattained aims described of everything in the world, whatever the mind loved, could be asked for yet not obtained. Finally, the 5 skandhas indicated the 5 aggregates of form, sensation, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, the aggregation of all the hardships of humankind. After hearing the explanation, Su Xing understood, somewhat impressed with this Buddhism. As expected, Buddhism looked at all things very thoroughly. No wonder it could become a type of belief. Chan Xian, your meaning is that after passing this boundless sea of bitterness, we may suffer through Buddhism's 8 distresses of samsara. Su Xing wrinkled his brow. Thinking carefully, that sudden sneak-attacking pain just now actually had a sort of birthing meaning. The sea of bitterness is borderless. The 8 distresses of the body will only become more and more serious. Even some senior monks that have obtained the way will find it hard to break out of the sea of bitterness. All benefactors, Chan Xian still feels that to move away from this first is better. Chan Xian put her hands together, sincere and earnest. Her words really did not have any contempt, nor was there any boast. For Buddhist cultivators to cross the 8 distresses, there was a vast samsara that would not necessarily achieve genuine freedom. Let alone Su Xing, even Qingxi only half understood Buddhism. Although Su Xing's meditative mind was indeed surprising in the heavenly solitary star's eyes, the sea of bitterness was vast. If one did not have strong willpower to pursue the Dharma, this sea of bitterness absolutely could not be crossed. Rather than meet with that sort of worldly suffering, it would be better to let go. Just this. Su Xing laughed. Chan Xian was confused at Su Xing's easygoing nature. I never expected this 6th floor celestial would be so simple. Relax, to speak of enduring bitterness, I'm already accustomed. Su Xing shook his head, not in the least concerned. I actually want to see just how deep this Buddhist sea of bitterness is. Sadhu. Chan Xian put her hands together, silent. Qingxi, Sio, do you want to return first? Su Xing asked with concern. He had cultivated this heart-like mirror absolute soul sincerity soul technique and opportunely long already did not fear these 8 distresses, but Wu Sio and Qingxi were not so relaxed. How can your servant flee? Wu Sio did not hesitate at all. Qingxi also slightly nodded. Since we have already reached this 6th floor celestial, there is no reason to shrink back, is that not so? The girl's smile was very gentle, like a spring breeze caressing his mind in the sea of bitterness. Yes. The group then slowly traveled through the sea of bitterness. The entire void world became muddled, gloomy, and oppressive the deeper into the sea of bitterness they went. The incorporeal heaviness was increasingly powerful, slowly near the point of a sort of feeling of despair. Just as Chan Xian had foreseen, after the distress of birth, their complexions withered and their strength drained with age. The sickness of their organs, limbs, and bones as well as death followed along. The expressions of the 3 women also turned extremely painful. Even the heavenly solitary star seemingly struggled in the boundless sea of bitterness, unable to move a single step. Countless cries of fright, pain, and even despair floated above the deathly stillness of the sea of bitterness. Not only the girls, the rest of the Buddhist monks that had reached this stage began to break under the torment, sinking one after the other into the sea of bitterness. Under this sort of atmosphere, Su Xing's heart-like mirror also received an unprecedented test. When the time came for parting with what was loved, Wu Xiao quite uncharacteristically grabbed Su Xing's hand, her fingernails seemingly digging into his flesh. That appearance made Su Xing's heart break when he saw it. Very clearly, parting with what was loved was more intense than the previous 4 distresses. Qingxi also slowly could not continue. She immediately waved her hand, releasing an old bell. Knocking it beside her ear, that old, clear sound barely allowed Qingxi to maintain clear-headedness. Su Xing also was slightly hurt to see this. His other hand grabbed her. As if it was life-saving duckweed, after Qingxi grabbed hold of Su Xing's hand, she firmly held fast, unwilling to let go. Again seeing Chan Xian read incantations, her hand holding the prayer beads, the girl using upright dharma to cross these 8 distresses indeed was somewhat more relaxed than Wu Xiao and Qingxi, but as time dragged on, Chan Xian also became increasingly pained. When Su Xing saw this, he advanced several steps forward, using his shoulder to support her. Chan Xian opened her hazy and unfocused eyes, not at all wanting to rely on Su Xing. Su Xing nevertheless could not care that much anymore. He silently exercised the soul technique, and usage of the heart like mirror absolute sincerity soul technique finally reached its limit. The boundless sea of churning evil finally settled. Su Xing's heart like still waters realm also reached the Wu Xiao and Qingxi to his left and right. The agony of the 2 girls slowly weakened, and even Chan Xian could not help but involuntarily be attracted by this profound tranquility, no longer resisting. In the middle of the sea of bitterness, 1 man and 3 women seemingly melded into one. The sea of bitterness surrounding them inconceivably cleared and become transparent. When the tree women returned to their senses from the sea of bitterness, red clouds flew across their faces. They hastily left Su Xing's side. That was a bit improper. Su Xing was embarrassed. He knew Wu Xiao would not mind, so long as he showed apologeticness to Chan Xian and Qingxi. Lord Su truly is, Qingxi did not know what she had ought to say. Chan Xian looked at Su Xing who was unexpectedly calm in the boundless sea of bitterness. To even still be able to help them was simply inconceivable, and she immediately whispered. Just who are you? You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.